Chapter 1641. Be careful. Qiao Xian's heart melted as well. She looked up at him with a smile and couldn't help but kiss him. Husband, have you been waiting for this child for a long time? Qiao Xian leaned against Xiao Yunduan and asked slowly. Of course not. Xiao Yunduan burst into laughter and took her in his arms. We will have a child sooner or later. Qiao Xian almost asked what if she was not able to give birth. But then she realized that what she said was inauspicious. The baby in her stomach was so aggrieved. So she changed her words and said with a smile, Yes, I think so too. After some thought, she added, I want to have a girl and a boy. Xiao Yunduan smiled, looking even more gentle. I want to too. Let's work hard. Qiao Xian burst into laughter and blushed. Still concerned, Xiao Yunduan asked someone to get a doctor to check on her. The news of Qiao Xian's pregnancy was also announced. Everyone was happy for them and congratulated them endlessly. Xiao Yunduan looked very happy and full of smiles. He asked Li Xia and Li Qiao to cook the eggs and distribute them to everyone. He also gave out numerous red packets, making everyone very happy. After the doctor carefully examined her, he also congratulated her with a smile, indicating that the child in Madame Xiao's stomach was very healthy. Both mother and child were in excellent condition. Xiao Yunduan, still in disbelief, asked for more details and then requested Songsher to bring another doctor. He only felt at ease when the two doctors confirmed the same result. Caught between laughter and tears, Qiao Xian said to him with a smile after the second doctor left, Are you relieved now? Xiao Yunduan looked at her with a smile. How could he be assured? They still had to travel. Although the doctor said that as long as she walked slowly, took care of herself on the way, paid attention to rest and checked regularly, she should be fine. In this situation, she didn't even need to take pregnancy-stabilizing medicine. However, this was his wife and son after all. No matter how well the doctor spoke, he couldn't remain calm when he thought of the journey. As for what his unreliable wife said about just like before, that was even more impossible. Other officials' wives were pregnant. Who didn't serve them well? Who was like his wife? She was actually still traveling. Just thinking about it made his heart ache. It was really too unfair to her. Thinking of this, Xiao Yunduan took care of her carefully. From this day onwards, the group's speed clearly slowed down. They had initially covered a day's journey, but now it took 2 days. For those with better road conditions, the originally 2-day journey now took 3 days. No one had any objections. They felt that this was how it should be. Pregnant women were delicate to begin with. If anything happened, wouldn't she regret it? Qiao Xian thought that even if she went according to the speed, she would only be 7 or 8 days slower than before, so she could enjoy the special treatment. There were also advantages to walking slowly. The scenery was along the way. This was the best season of the year. Every day, there would be different beautiful scenery to admire. In the middle of March, they finally arrived in An's province. When they were still 2 days away from An's province, everyone stopped to rest and planned to enter the city in batches. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian brought Songsher, Li Xia, Yi Sun Bai Sun Qian, Ms. Song, Xiao Er and Liu Fu. Half of the servants were bought, and Wu Guan and the rest were counted as another group. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1642. Entering the city. After Wu Guan and the others entered the city, they found an inn to stay in before contacting each other. On March 11th, Xiao Yunduan arrived at An's city in the afternoon with his wife and his men. From afar, they could see the gray city wall that was neither tall nor short. The surroundings were filled with undulating mountains and forests. In late spring, the trees and grass were lush, making it look even deeper. Amidst the surrounding mountains, such a gray city looked even more lonely, desolate, and bleak. It was unknown if it was because of their preconceived notions, but when everyone looked at the city wall, the yellow soil, and the bumpy official road, they subconsciously felt desolate and sinister. Even though the sun was shining brightly, it still made people subconsciously nervous. After all, this was a bandit's nest. An's prefecture city was very large, but the population didn't seem to be high. There were only a few pedestrians and horses on the official road that entered and exited the city gate, making it look very deserted. In such a cold environment, Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, and the other 6 carriages were very conspicuous. Anyone who passed by them could not help but size them up curiously. When the convoy finally arrived at the city gate, a few soldiers guarding the city also looked over. Just as their carriage was about to enter the city, a few soldiers moved. Stop! They came forward with rusty spears and surrounded the most luxurious wagon that Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were in. Everyone in the carriage, get down! Xiao Yunduan had no intention of concealing his identity and visiting incognito. Catching the culprits red-handed required boldness and a show of authority, which would be compromised if he hid his identity. Li Xiao lifted the curtain, and Xiao Yunduan, with an air of authority, opened a fraction of a tail and rushed towards the soldiers. I am the new prefect. 2 men, lead the way to the government office. The soldiers widened their eyes, dumbfounded. Sun Bai, who was driving the carriage, flicked his wrist, and his black whip drew a sharp arc in the air. He shouted in a low voice, "How dare you? Why aren't you bowing to the Lord Prefect?" Although these soldiers couldn't read, they were familiar with official seals and the decorum surrounding them. No one would be so audacious as to make such a jest in broad daylight. While they knew the new prefect would assume office soon, no one expected him to enter the city so discreetly. Reprimanded by Sun Bai, the soldiers' hearts trembled, and they hastily knelt down. "Greetings, Lord. Greetings, Lord." It seemed that with just 6 people, the illusion of a bustling scene was successfully created. Xiao Yunduan commanded, "Get up." Casually pointing at the 2 soldiers in front, he continued, "You 2 lead the way. The rest, return to your posts." Yes. The bewildered soldiers led the way while the others stood guard, looking at each other in confusion. Why did this prefect seem so different from the others? And why had he let them off so easily? Hey, what are we waiting for? Hurry up and report it. Oh yes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1643. Reception. Soon, the 4 of them hastily made their escape, dispersing without a clear plan on where to report. Word of the prefect's imminent arrival quickly circulated. Upon reaching the state office, Xiao Yunduan, Qiao Xian, and the others found Deputy Prefect Guan waiting outside, accompanied by fellow officials. A modest gathering of around 20 people stood nonchalantly, engaging in casual conversations with an air of indifference. Songshi and Qingyan assisted Xiao Yunduan out of the carriage, and attendants flocked around him. Deputy Prefect Guan was momentarily taken aback, but quickly led the group forward, extending a courteous greeting with a smile. "Are you Lord Xiao of Xiao Prefect?" Xiao Yunduan nodded. "Yes, I am." "Greetings, Lord." "Greetings, Lord." Deputy Prefect Guan promptly bowed with a smile. "I've eagerly awaited Lord Xiao day and night. You've finally arrived. My lord, you're too discreet. It would have been better to send notice ahead, allowing me to greet you outside the city upon receiving the news." "It wasn't intentional. We were pressed for time. Please forgive us, Lord." Understanding. Xiao Yunduan, looking fatigued, nodded. "I appreciate your understanding. You may go for now. We can discuss matters later." Deputy Prefect Guan, is it? "Lead me to the back office." Yes. My lord, please come in. You must be exhausted from the journey. Head to the back office and rest." Deputy Prefect Guan eagerly nodded, dismissing everyone. He then guided Xiao Yunduan and the others to the rear entrance of the government office. In his 40s or 50s, Deputy Prefect Guan possessed a sturdy, middle-class physique with slightly dark skin. His thick, black eyebrows overshadowed his pupils, creating a distinctive appearance. Despite his friendly demeanor and constant smiles, he seemed good-tempered, showering Xiao Yunduan with flattery and praise as they walked. Qiao Xian was deeply moved by the conversation, finding it remarkably familiar, as if they were long-lost friends finally reunited. As they strolled through the back office, they entered the courtyard, where a few servants from the back office warmly greeted them. Deputy Prefect Guan rushed to summon them for assistance with the horses and luggage, but Songshi intervened. With a friendly smile, Songshi spoke, Our lord and madam have minimal luggage. We can handle it ourselves. There's no need to trouble everyone. The servants turned their gaze toward Deputy Prefect Guan. Observing Xiao Yunduan's silence, Deputy Prefect Guan burst into laughter and exclaimed, "In that case, thank you all for your efforts." Before the new year, the former prefect had fled with his entourage, leaving Deputy Prefect Guan to welcome Xiao Yunduan and his party this time. While not small, the prefect's back office was divided into the east and west yards, with Xiao Yunduan and his companions settling in the east yard. Besides the two courtyards, there was also a spacious garden spanning about 3 to 4 mu. The garden featured pavilions, flowers, wood structures, flowing water, and a rockery. Due to the humid climate and abundant forests, the vegetation in the garden thrived, boasting flourishing flowers and trees. The east courtyard comprised 3 smaller courtyards, totaling more than 30 houses, along with facilities such as a kitchen, storeroom, and stable. Although the east courtyard had been tidied up, the furniture was incomplete, and curtains were lacking. The servant's kitchen was well organized, but the master's kitchen stood empty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1644. Pride. Li Xia and Li Qiao assisted Qiao Xian as they helped him out of the wagon. This was the scene that greeted them upon entering the yard and the main house. Deputy Prefect Guan wore an apologetic expression. "I'm truly sorry, Lord Xiao. The former prefect took all the furniture with him or sold it when he departed. He had personally purchased those items. Shall I arrange for someone to buy replacements from the shop?" "No need. It's a minor matter. I'll handle it myself." "Ah, that's good. Lord, I'm sure you have excellent taste. Choosing things personally will ensure they suit your preferences. I'll have someone take your guys to the market later." Xiao Yunduan responded noncommittally. "Deputy Prefect Guan, I appreciate your efforts today. Once everything is settled, I'll host a banquet to express my gratitude to all of you. In the days ahead, I'll rely on Deputy Prefect Guan for various matters. I hope you won't find me too bothersome." No, Lord, you jest." Deputy Prefect Guan beamed, waving his hands. "I've always been at your service. I'll follow your orders. If there's anything you need me to do, just say the word. I'll gladly share your burdens by providing all the information I possess. I wouldn't dare trouble you with unnecessary expenses. Once we're settled, I'll host a banquet for you, haha." With a smile, Xiao Yunduan exchanged a few more pleasantries before Deputy Prefect Guan took his leave. However, just as Deputy Prefect Guan was about to depart, Qiao Xian suddenly addressed him with a hint of pride. "Deputy Prefect Guan, isn't it? When is Mrs. Guan planning to pay her respects? If it's too late, tell her not to come today. She can return tomorrow. I'm tired and would like to rest early." Deputy Prefect Guan was taken aback, quickly putting on a smile and offering profuse apologies. Yes. She is not feeling well today, so she didn't make an appearance. Please forgive me, Madam Xiao. Tomorrow, when she feels better, I'll definitely ask her to come over to pay the respects." Qiao Xian remained unyielding, scoffing. "Not feeling well? What a coincidence." She stopped just short of accusing her of feigning illness. Even though Deputy Prefect Guan possessed a smooth tongue and eloquence, Qiao Xian's words caught him off guard. In his view, maintaining mutual respect and harmony was essential. Everyone should be in good spirits. Encountering someone who didn't show any courtesy was genuinely. Nevertheless, Deputy Prefect Guan, resembling a benevolent Buddha, recovered swiftly from his momentary surprise, and his face soon lit up with smiles once again. His smile exuded warmth. "Haha, Madam Xiao, you do have a knack for humor. My wife has always been delicate. Just a few days ago, she was mentioning you and eagerly anticipating your arrival." Qiao Xian's expression softened slightly. She shot him a glance and said nothing more. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, Deputy Prefect Guan truly took his leave. Songsher dismissed the 2 men and 2 maidservants who had been serving in the courtyard. Closing the courtyard door, everyone set to work, carrying luggage and dividing tasks. Inside the main room, an arhat bed, an 8-seat table, chairs flanking each side of the table, a long table, and an immovable ancient shelf partition were the only furnishings. Taking charge, Xiao Yunduan directed Li Qiao, and the others to prepare the arhut bed. He assisted Qiao Xian in sitting down, saying, "Wife, take a rest. Li Xia, head to the kitchen and boil some hot water. Retrieve the box of snacks and place it on the table so we can satisfy our hunger. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1645. Harmony. On surface, Qiao Xian's hunger was unmistakably apparent, and she couldn't bear the pangs any longer. She smiled and asserted, "I'm not that delicate." Xiao Yunduan remarked, "You're not squeamish, you're pregnant." This prompted another laugh from Qiao Xian. Glancing at him, she inquired, "Husband, what's your impression of Deputy Prefect Guan?" Recalling Xie Jingrong's insights, Xiao Yunduan replied, "As Brother Xie mentioned, Deputy Prefect Guan is quite diplomatic. Though exceedingly amiable, such individuals often prove challenging to befriend. After all, some could effortlessly wear a smile in public, but backstab without a second thought. Some executed the act with a cool detachment, without a hint of hesitation." Before arriving in An's province, both Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian had heard that Deputy Prefect Guan belonged to the latter category. Despite the changing prefects in An's, Deputy Prefect Guan had maintained his position for a decade. Surviving contentedly in such an environment required a shrewd and resilient character. Throwing a glance at Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan sighed. "Why did you provoke him just now?" Qiao Xian smiled, proudly straightening her back. "I'm the prefect's wife, a local tyrant. Why can't I be a bit assertive? Being overly kind isn't necessary here. Initiating a confrontation, putting someone in their place, or establishing dominance provides an advantageous position. Let them understand that I'm not someone to be trifled with. It will help them exercise restraint. Didn't we agree on this?" Xiao Yunduan sighed with a helpless smile. While they had discussed such strategies before, he hadn't anticipated Qiao Xian's pregnancy. Now aware of her condition, he preferred avoiding unnecessary risks. His current priority was to lead a stable and conservative life until after she gave birth. However, he hadn't found the time to discuss this with her during the journey. Initially, she had intended to settle in quietly. Little did he expect her to deliberately stir trouble and embarrass others the moment they arrived. Facing her question now, Xiao Yunduan refrained from blaming her for her impulsiveness and instead commended her, saying, "My wife has an excellent memory. I haven't thought of it yet." Qiao Xian felt a surge of pride. Xiao Yunduan spoke gently. "Regardless, you are carrying a life inside you now. Always prioritize your well-being, and that of our child and mother. We can address everything else later, but your safety is paramount." Qiao Xian's heart warmed, and she gazed down at her belly with a smile. "Don't worry, I'll protect him." Her concern for her child surpassed everything else. Without the protection of her superpower, she might not have acted so impulsively. Although the superpower's energy had halved, Qiao Xian felt reassured, sensing that the other half was safeguarding the baby in her womb. Li Xia poured hot water and arranged snacks on the table. Xiao Yunduan tasted the tea, offering it to Qiao Xian. Thirsty and hungry, Qiao Xian ceased talking, focusing on drinking water and eating. After a while, Songshi entered and provided a detailed report. The courtyard was now empty, and numerous items needed purchasing. He presented a lengthy list for the two masters to review. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were indifferent to whether the former prefect had sold off the furniture, or if Deputy Prefect Guan intended to make things difficult for them. Money was not a concern for them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1646. Mrs. Guan's dissatisfaction. They paid little attention to the possessions of others. Despite An's province not being the most prosperous or bustling, it was, after all, a sizable city with several furniture stores. They could easily procure what they needed. Reviewing the extensive list, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan handed it to Songshi. "It's getting late. Arrange for someone to purchase these items individually. Preferably, acquire ready-made pieces. If not, place orders and ensure they're ready in the coming days. Songsher agreed and set off to make the necessary arrangements. Fortunately, the bustling time allowed everyone to split up for shopping. The small kitchen soon had a complete set of pots, pans, cooking utensils, various foods, firewood, and seasonings such as oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar. Daily necessities like furniture, beds, wardrobes, tables, and chairs were also acquired. Customizing curtains, chairs, and other items would take a few days, but could be expedited with payment. Xiao Yunduan contemplated going out to explore the area, mingle with the locals, and learn more about An's prefecture city. While Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan stayed in the room, Li Xia and Li Qiao knew precisely what to buy, leaving Songsher in charge of the rest. They instructed Qing Yan to reserve a few tables of dishes from a nearby restaurant, to be delivered later when dinner time approached. With the day drawing to a close, preparing a home-cooked meal would be impractical. As Deputy Prefect Guan left the east courtyard, he maintained a smiling facade. However, upon entering the west courtyard where his family resided, the smile faded. Inside the house, Mrs. Guan, munching on melon seeds, eagerly clapped her hands, demanding, "How was it? How was the Xiao family?" Deputy Prefect Guan chuckled, envisioning Xiao Yunduan's fatigued expression and the scrutinizing, disappointed glances. "Not much to report. I doubt they'll last long here either. None of those officials seem like they can endure this place for an extended period." "That's right," Mrs. Guan sneered. "I heard he's a young primus, a scholar whose head is filled with lofty ideals. He's pedantic and daydreams about romance all the time. How can someone like him endure the hardships? People of his kind won't last long in our place." Growing more agitated, she continued, "In my opinion, you've endured this forsaken place for so many years. Even if you haven't received proper recognition, you've worked hard. Moreover, you've made contributions. Without you, would this place have remained stable for so long? The position of the prefect should have been rightfully yours a long time ago. I don't understand what the imperial court is thinking. These prefects come and go like a revolving door, treating this place like a market. Yet the imperial court keeps sending people one after another. I want to see when the imperial court will wake up. Only then will I know that you are the most suitable to be the prefect." Hearing this, Deputy Prefect Guan felt a twinge of indignation. Another superior had arrived, and this immediate comparison fueled his frustration. Waving his hand dismissively, he said, "Enough, there's no need for such talk. The imperial court has its own considerations. As for me, I'll just focus on doing my job." Mrs. Guan sneered again. "These prefects who come and go like a revolving door are mere decorations. The clay bodhisattva in the temple that can breathe is all thanks to you." Deputy Prefect Guan frowned, feeling even more exasperated. "Enough, don't say such things. I'm just a deputy prefect. Prefects' matters are inherently my concerns. Discuss these matters within the house. Don't spread rumors outside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1647. Contempt. It was inconceivable for her to spread baseless rumors. Instead, she chose to lament everywhere about how her old master was overworked and exhausted. She painted a picture of his daily struggles, emphasizing how he was so busy that his feet barely touched the ground upon waking. Often, he didn't even have time to eat, and she couldn't leave him alone. She had to make decisions and follow his instructions. She expressed genuine concern that if this continued, his health might suffer. Mrs. Guan smiled, saying, "Old master, don't worry. It's not that I don't understand the seriousness of the situation. I'm just indignant on your behalf. I only gossip at home. If the family forbids me from speaking, I'll feel suffocated." Deputy Prefect Guan shared her sentiments. "By the way, you should meet Madame Xiao tomorrow or the day after." Deputy Prefect Guan smirked as he recounted Qiao Xian's words. Mrs. Guan erupted in anger. "What did you say? That woman. She wants me to pay my respects to her? Who does she think she is? She wants to impose herself on me. I'm utterly disgusted. Just wait. I'll teach her a lesson. I'll show her who holds the reins in An's province." Deputy Prefect Guan chuckled. Wife, calm down. Although it's distasteful, isn't it easier to handle someone who doesn't hold back? On the surface, you can just appease her with a few pleasant words. After all, once she's appeased, won't she still be under your influence? Mrs. Guan's heartbeat quickened. Reflecting on it, that did seem to be the case. Madame Qiao must be foolish to speak so brazenly in front of her old master. Such a person was indeed more manageable. However, Mrs. Guan's discomfort returned when she considered Madame Qiao's arrogance, impoliteness, and sense of superiority. I must teach her a lesson. Otherwise, I'll truly be repulsed. This time, Deputy Prefect Guan remained silent, only cautioning, "Don't go too far. It won't be good if we end up in a feud." Mrs. Guan sneered, replying, "Don't worry, old master." In the east courtyard, there was an ample supply of funds and labor. Before long, the purchased items were transported back one by one. Ms. Miao, Ms. Song, Xia Sanzio's wife, Caillou's mother, and several other women efficiently organized the space, directing the unloading of items. The required rooms were swiftly filled with the purchased goods. Perhaps due to the abundance of mountains, forests, and high-quality wood in the area, the furniture surprised everyone with its excellent materials and craftsmanship. Li Xia and Li Qiao selected a set of quality furniture, and the owner gladly arranged for it to be delivered. There was an assortment of furnishings: 8 immortals table, chairs, chaise long table, desk, bookshelf, walking bed, wardrobe, dressing table, round table. Everything one could imagine. Having been with Qiao Xian for many years, Li Xia and Li Qiao knew her preferences well. As expected, Qiao Xian was highly pleased with the chosen furniture. With the furniture in place, curtains and drapes were partially sourced from the embroidery workshop and custom-made for the rest, ready in 3 days. Songsher also purchased several pots of flowers from the market, ranging in sizes and varieties, to adorn the house and courtyard. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, having brought a few pieces of furniture from the capital, placed them strategically to enhance the room's appearance and reduce the sense of emptiness. Beds and cabinets for the servants' quarters were easier to acquire. Made from ordinary yet sturdy and durable fir wood. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1648. Provoke. With all the tasks completed, dusk settled outside, and the lights began to illuminate the surroundings. The restaurant delivered food arrived, and appreciating everyone's hard work, Qiao Xian asked Li Xia to convey the message for them to rest after dinner. Even though they had settled down, there were still numerous tasks awaiting them in the future. Sun Bai and Sun Qian, vigilant as always, arranged for guards to keep watch through the night. A serene night unfolded. Nestled in Xiao Yunduan's arms, Qiao Xian felt a sense of contentment. This was their home. The following morning, Qiao Xian freshened up and headed to the garden with Li Xia, Li Qiao, and Mian Mian. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan went to the front office to meet all the officers in the prefect's office. The garden, nurtured by Mrs. Guan, was thriving. Roses, gardenias, cuckoos, peonies, and crabapples were all in full bloom. The trees stood lush and green. In high spirits, Qiao Xian and her servants enjoyed a leisurely walk, a rare treat after the challenges they had faced on their journey. Qiao Xian's mischievous side surfaced. She suddenly felt the urge to provoke Mrs. Guan once again. Instructing Li Xia and the others to find a bamboo basket, Qiao Xian called Qing Lian, Qiao Qiao, and Kaiwa to pick the blooming flowers, roses, gardenias, and peonies. She intended to make lip gloss. Trimming branches from the well-blooming peonies and begonias with scissors, she planned to bring them back and arrange them in bottles. The cuckoos and hydrangeas caught her eye. She decided to carefully transplant them later into the east courtyard. Qiao Xian observed the maids picking and arranging flowers, engrossed in their work and laughter, when Mrs. Guan arrived with her attendants. An elderly woman shouted from a distance, "Where did these little girls come from? Hurry up and stop." Qiao Xian sneered and calmly said, "Just ignore her." The maids chuckled and responded, "Who is this old woman? She's shouting." "That's right, who does she think she's scaring?" "Hey, don't say that." She suddenly shouted like this, "It really scared me." Me too. Seeing the maids unperturbed, Mrs. Guan grew angrier. She gritted her teeth and scolded, How dare you be so arrogant the moment you arrive? Madam Qiao. Mrs. Guan, unable to contain her anger, addressed Qiao Xian with frustration. This must be Madam Qiao, right? I'm the deputy prefect's wife. Madam Qiao, you've just arrived. Why don't you rest more? You seem to be in such a good mood. Li Xia glared at Nanny Ding and rebuked. Auntie, were you the one shouting just now? Our madam is pregnant. You're scaring her with your sudden loud shouting. If anything happens to our madam, can you bear the responsibility? Nanny Ding and Mrs. Guan were taken aback. Madam Qiao was pregnant? Despite being pregnant, she had endured the hardships to be with her husband. Nanny Ding smiled. I didn't know that Madam Qiao was pregnant. I deserve to be scolded. Please forgive me, Madam Qiao. I'll be more careful in the future. I'm also concerned. These flowers were meticulously cared for by my wife. It wasn't easy for them to look this beautiful. It's a shame to pick them. Madam Qiao, do you think we should tell the girls to stop? Mrs. Guan added. Madam Qiao, I wonder what your plans are for the flowers. It's spring and you've just arrived. I was thinking of hosting a flower viewing banquet in a few days to invite all the ladies to appreciate the blossoms. If the flowers are gone, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1649. Furious Qiao Xian shot her a glance and nonchalantly remarked, So what if they are gone? They're just a few flowers. I ordered them to be picked because I value them. Who says a flower viewing banquet must have actual flowers? It's just a title, Mrs. Guan. Don't take it too seriously. Or did Mrs. Guan assign someone to tend to these flowers and forbid me from picking them? Mrs. Guan was on the verge of exploding. Over the years, she had dealt with 7 wives of the prefect, each with varying degrees of intelligence, temperament, and attitude. However, Madam Qiao was the first to barge in without any regard for the reputation of others. It was one thing not to care about others' reputations, but did she not realize who she was? She was the wife of the deputy prefect. Did she understand that for her husband to smoothly handle official matters and live peacefully in Anne's province, he had to rely on his own husband, an idiot? Was she not afraid of retaliation from her husband? Lord Qiao was the primus and a confidant of the crown prince. What was the matter with him? How could he marry such a ridiculous wife? It was no wonder they were exiled to such a place. Madam Qiao, you must be joking. They're just a few flowers. If you like them, feel free to pick them. However, once they're picked, these flowers will be gone. You'll find it difficult to enjoy them tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Forcing a smile, Mrs. Guan said. Qiao Xian sneered. That is none of your business. Mrs. Guan felt a wave of dizziness and gritted her teeth. You don't need me to do anything? I specifically had someone take good care of those flowers. Qiao Xian had no intention of picking the flowers. Her aim was to lure Mrs. Guan and observe her reaction. At this moment, she was here too, making fun of her. Qiao Xian smiled and signaled Mian Mian to come back. She scrutinized Mrs. Guan and raised an eyebrow. Deputy Prefect mentioned yesterday that you weren't feeling well, but your complexion looks very good. Your eyes are bright, your voice is loud, and your legs seem strong. I really can't tell where you're feeling unwell. Did you purposefully avoid greeting me? Mrs. Guan's eyes widened. Mrs. Guan's breath grew heavier, and she nearly burst into curses. Bully, this is too much. All right, just you wait. Do you really think you're so great just because you're the wife of the prefect? Do you think you can act so atrociously and lord over me? I'll let her know that I'm not to be trifled with, and that I can't afford to offend you. Madam Qiao, you've misunderstood. Mrs. Guan sounded a little angry and cold. At this moment, she couldn't squeeze out a smile anymore. I was indeed not feeling well yesterday. I'm better today. I see. It seems that I misunderstood you, Mrs. Guan. Mrs. Guan smiled but didn't say anything. She thought to herself, you're not just misunderstood. You're simply unreasonable. Qiao Xian glanced at Nanny Ding. Don't make such a big fuss in the future. I won't hold it against you this time, but if you scare me next time, it won't be so easy. Nanny Ding's heart trembled, and she hurriedly bowed her head with a smile. Thank you for being magnanimous, Madam Qiao. These words were true. She was genuinely a little afraid. Qiao Xian's belly was not bulging yet, indicating that she must be pregnant within 3 months. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1650. The deputy prefect's wife is really arrogant. Pregnant women within the first 3 months are the most delicate. Any fright might lead to serious consequences. Additionally, Qiao Xian didn't require concrete evidence. If anything happened, she could simply blame Mrs. Guan for causing the distress, and it would be disastrous for Mrs. Guan. How could the unborn child of the prefect's wife be compared to a servant by the deputy prefect's wife? Even if she didn't pay with her life, the consequences would be severe. Qiao Xian departed with the maids, leaving Mrs. Guan glaring at her retreating figure. In reality, the maids hadn't picked many flowers. It was still just a small bunch. Mrs. Guan, however, found the flowers vexing. Not only were they an eyesore, but they also irritated her. She was seething with anger. This garden had originally been hers. The former prefect's wife, who was an invalid, never left the house and didn't appreciate these things. Mrs. Guan had long considered this piece of land as her own territory. But who would have expected such a difficult person to come? Taking a deep breath, Mrs. Guan ordered coldly, "Dig up all the roses in this area and replace them with chrysanthemums." "Yes, madam." Nanny Ding, nursing a grudge against Qiao Xian and her maids for ridiculing her, answered loudly and directed the maids to uproot the plants. She was at least a bit more sensible. Which prefect's wife wouldn't give her some respect? The response to not being greeted politely with a smile and a respectful "Nanny Ding" was really infuriating. Enraged, Mrs. Guan returned to her room, slammed the coffee table, and nearly shattered the teacup. How can there be such a shameless and domineering person? Who does she think she is? I'm so angry, so angry. Furious, Mrs. Guan gasped for breath. If Nanny Ding had been more sensible, she would have tried to console Mrs. Guan. However, feeling humiliated herself and harboring anger, she found Mrs. Guan scolding Qiao Xian to be rather satisfying. Instead of calming her down, Nanny Ding exacerbated the situation. During breakfast, while Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were dining, Liu returned and reported about the removal of the roses and Chinese roses. Mrs. Guan ordered the planting of chrysanthemums, claiming she was tired of roses. It seems like she deliberately opposed Mrs. Guan and wanted to provoke her. This Mrs. Guan is incredibly infuriating. Although Qiao Xian had been assertive, she hadn't demeaned or insulted Mrs. Guan. Asking someone to pick a few flowers wasn't a significant offense. At most, she had exchanged a few words with her. But had she done something wrong? When the prefect's wife arrived, the deputy prefect's wife, Mrs. Guan, pretended not to be aware, and didn't even show her face. So why couldn't Qiao Xian jest with her? It was preposterous. She hadn't come here to be mistreated. She was the prefect's wife, while Mrs. Guan was merely the deputy prefect's wife. Qiao Xian picked a few flowers in the garden and agitated her. How could Mrs. Guan slap her own face like this? It seemed like Mrs. Guan didn't take her seriously at all, and treated this place as her personal territory. The deputy prefect's wife has quite the temper. Qiao Xian grinned. Xiao Yunduan arched an eyebrow. What did she do? Qiao Xian smiled, hearing that he was ready to support her. It's nothing, my husband. Don't worry about these trivial matters. I can handle them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1651. Tu bully Qiao Xian instructed Liu, summon Kaiyun, Kaiwe, Ms. Song, and Ms. Miao. Inform them to halt their work. Let them know that I have a fondness for these flowers, and want to keep them for my enjoyment. Anyone daring to defy will be subject to punishment and expulsion. Understood, madam. Liu swiftly turned on her heels and sprinted away, fearful that the flower beds might be uprooted if she delayed. The flowers and trees were well established, with deep roots that had likely grown for numerous years. Eradicating them all would be a formidable task. When Liu and the others arrived, the 4 maids had not yet started clearing the roses. Liu rushed to the rose garden and reported to Qiao Xian. The maids hesitated, reluctant to take action. The prefect's wife held a higher status than the deputy prefect's wife. How could they dare to defy the prefect's wife's orders? However, each prefect's tenure in this place was short-lived. The longest stayed for less than 3 years, while the briefest departure occurred in less than half a year. On the other hand, the deputy prefect's wife and her husband had resided in this region for a decade. If they obeyed the prefect's wife now, who would bear the consequences when she departed, and the deputy prefect's wife sought retribution? One maid with a forced smile said to Qiao, "Miss, this is Mrs. Guan's directive. If we go against it, it won't end well." "Miss, why don't you speak to Mrs. Guan yourself?" Qiao glanced at them, showing no intention to make things difficult. "Of course. I'll inform Mrs. Guan immediately. You may leave now." "Thank you for your understanding, miss." "Thank you, miss." The 4 maids felt relieved but remained standing hesitantly at the side. Qiao led Kaiyun and Kaiwa to the west yard, while Ms. Song and Ms. Miao stayed behind, engaging in conversation with the 4 maids. Despite being newcomers, they had no intentions of staying within their own boundaries. Since there were no servants in the east courtyard, they saw no reason not to socialize. With Qiao Xian's pregnancy, the east yard was off limits. However, if they were to establish a presence in the west yard, building relationships with the existing staff was essential. Qiao, maintaining a polite tone, stood in front of Mrs. Guan. Yet, the very fact that she was here made Mrs. Guan so infuriated that her facial expression seemed distorted. Inwardly cursing, Mrs. Guan pondered how Qiao Xian had boldly contradicted her earlier. She had even reprimanded her servants. Now, she couldn't even remove the flowers she had planted? She was obliged to stay because Qiao Xian liked them? This felt like bullying to Mrs. Guan, an unbearable injustice. Mrs. Guan harbored animosity towards all the prefect's wives, considering them intruders who had assumed her husband's position. She despised this place, so why did they come here? Their disdainful expressions were irksome. Yet of all the prefect's wives, it was the current woman she loathed the most. "How considerate of you to let us keep them if Madame Xiao likes them," Mrs. Guan said through gritted teeth, attempting a smile that almost broke 2 of them. Internally seething, Mrs. Guan thought, "What else can I do? I'm only the wife of a deputy prefect. She's the superior official, and can crush people. How can I reject someone who sends such brazen words through her servants?" Qiao, grinning, responded, "Thank you, Mrs. Guan. Our madam will surely be delighted." Mrs. Guan almost retorted with a sarcastic "bah." She refrained, wondering why she should care whether Qiao Xian was happy or not. Qiao and her companions returned to the garden, instructing the 4 maids to replant the roses that were about to be uprooted and distribute them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1652. Be careful. The 4 maidservants were relieved and readily agreed to the task. Qiao returned to report to Qiao Xian. Smiling, Qiao Xian turned to Xiao Yunduan saying, "Husband, this is the life." Even in the capital, where Xiao Yunduan enjoyed fame and served as the crown prince's right-hand man, the couple was still overshadowed by more influential families. Though Qiao Xian wasn't one to suppress her emotions, she had to exercise caution. Regardless of her location, she found herself bowing to others. Now in An's province, as the prefect's wife, she held a superior position. Even if it was just a facade, couldn't she be straightforward? With her status, there was no need to beat around the bush. Xiao Yunduan indulgently smiled. Deputy Prefect Guan and his wife have deep roots in An's province after more than 10 years. My wife, you need to be vigilant when interacting with others. And make sure to bring Ai with you. The Deputy Prefect couple weren't virtuous, and Xiao Yunduan intended to settle scores with the Deputy Prefect soon. If his wife was going to challenge Mrs. Guan, he would be there to back her up. However, the possibility of Mrs. Guan seeking revenge covertly couldn't be ruled out, so caution was imperative. Qiao Xian nodded. "Rest assured, husband, I will." Xiao Yunduan added, "Furthermore, don't stoop to her level, and try to keep your temper in check. If there's anything, let me know." Understood. After breakfast, Xiao Yunduan walked with Qiao Xian in the yard for a while before heading to the government office. Unraveling the intricacies of this place and discerning whether the people were merely humans or something more elusive would prove to be a challenging task. In the past, the prefects were all here to slack off and think of ways to leave quickly. They did not care at all. It was not an exaggeration to say that Deputy Prefect Guan was in charge of everything in An's province's government office. Those constables and scribes all acted according to Deputy Prefect Guan's intentions. The bailiffs below were probably the same. Qiao Xian asked someone to take out the strawberry seedlings from the flower pot and plant them in the backyard. She had also brought a lot of potatoes and cantaloupe seeds. Previously, she had asked Zheng Sang and the others to come over and ask around. If there were suitable fields, she would buy them. She did not know if she could buy them. Sun Qian went out for a while. When he returned, he brought Zheng Sang and the other two back. Qiao Xian was very happy. Zheng Sang and the other two were also very happy. After exchanging greetings, they told Qiao Xian everything. The three local big families, the Mei family, the Hua family, the Fan family, and the largest three bandit dens. The Six Ridges Min family stronghold, the Six Harmonies fort of Snail Mountain, and the Tiger Roar Gang Tiger Head stronghold. Zheng Sang and the other two had inquired about the latest news, as well as some gossiping news that was unknown if it was true. There were also some stories about this Deputy Prefect Guan. Qiao Xian listened carefully and asked a few questions from time to time. Some Zheng Sang and the others could answer, but some could not. But Qiao Xian knew more about this place now after hearing the details. She would tell this to Xiao Yunduan later. In a swift turn of events, noon arrived, and Xiao Yunduan dispatched a message through a messenger. The note conveyed that he would be leisurely spending time with Deputy Prefect Guan at the clan in front of the governmental office, adopting a nonchalant and casual demeanor. Consequently, he mentioned he wouldn't be returning promptly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1653. Buying land. Qiao Xian extended an invitation to Zheng Sang, urging him to stay for lunch, and the two continued their conversation afterward. To Qiao Xian's astonishment, they successfully acquired 1,000 mu of land in the southern suburbs. A middle-class affluent family was planning to relocate, selling off all their properties and fields except the ancestral home. Despite the nominal 1,000 mu, the actual area exceeded 1,200 mu. Zheng Sang managed to secure the land at a remarkably low price, as those interested in purchasing such vast expanses couldn't afford them. Intrigued by the development, Qiao Xian expressed keen interest in visiting them in a couple of days. Coincidentally, it was the right time of the year to commence planting on the newly acquired land. Additionally, Zheng Sang had purchased a sizable house in compliance with Qiao Xian's specifications. It needed to be large and well located. The chosen residence was a spacious one on Huayan Alley, the third street in the eastern part of the city. The courtyard, spanning over 12 mu, boasted 3 entrances and a garden. The new residence was conveniently located, allowing a carriage ride of just over a quarter of an hour to reach the state office. Zheng Sang informed Qiao Xian that An's prefecture city was expansive but sparsely populated, with many vacant houses available for sale. Having already arranged for the house to be cleaned, Qiao Xian informed Zheng Sang of her plan to visit them the next day. She noticed that Zheng Sang and the others were still staying at the inn, prompting her to suggest, "You can move into the house now. It's not too late. Take Liu Fu, Aunt Song, and the others with you. They can stay there as well. Take some time to inspect the garden, and consider where to establish a martial arts training ground. It will serve as a training facility in the future. We have Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Yi, and others here now. You don't need to worry. When we require your assistance, Lord will seek it. In case the government office is recruiting, would you mind holding a nominal position?" With an official title, they could openly accompany Xiao Yunduan. Both Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian couldn't treat them as mere servants, so an alternative justification was necessary. Zheng Sang agreed without hesitation, adding with a smile, "We'll discuss it with Lord and Madam later. We'll serve as bailiffs." Despite their rough demeanor, being bailiffs seemed fitting. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had been concerned that Zheng Sang might be displeased, considering his past as a general. However, he suggested it himself, much to Qiao Xian's amusement. If you're comfortable with that, it's perfect. Zheng Sang remained calm, saying, Madam, you're overthinking. There's nothing to worry about. With that settled, Liu Fu, Ms. Song, and Ms. Miao began to make the move. Xia Sanjiao and his family joined them. Xiao Qiao and Qing Lian, not wanting to part, eagerly inquired if they could visit and play with Madame, Li Xia, and Li Qiao more often in the future. Xiao Xian happily agreed, allowing them to stay for a few days before making the move. Excited, the two girls cheered, prompting Liu Fu, Xiao Er, and others to also express their eagerness to stay and play. Xiao Xian responded with a smile. As the group departed, the east courtyard became noticeably emptier. Fortunately, they gained some companions along the way. During the journey, everyone became familiar with each other, providing ample opportunities to observe their behavior and temperament in various situations. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1654. The seat. They were all carefully chosen, ensuring that Ms. Song and her team wouldn't be short-handed during their absence. Within the expansive mansion, Ms. Song and Ms. Miao were preparing meals for everyone, while Xia Sanjiao and his family took care of various menial tasks. If the need arose, they could easily acquire 3 or 4 additional servants in the future. Prior to their departure, they instructed someone to keep an eye on the city gate. Upon the anticipated arrival of Wu Guan and the others in 2 days, they were to be directed straight to the mansion. Zheng Sang agreed to each instruction. As he was about to leave, Zheng Sang hesitated briefly before deciding to share. Madam, there's something I heard through hearsay. I can't vouch for its accuracy, but I believe it's best to inform you. Please take it casually, indifferently. A few days ago, I accidentally overheard some news. It appears that there might be an issue with the spring plowing seeds in An's province this year. The Mei, Hua, and Fan families seem to be causing a stir about something. This could be a significant matter, and if mishandled, it might lead to a substantial problem. I intended to inquire further, but I couldn't uncover any concrete information. Therefore, I'm uncertain if it's true or not. Nonetheless, please advise my lord to exercise caution. If this information holds true, there's a high probability it might be targeted at him. Qiao Xian was taken aback and sincerely bowed to Zheng Sang. She addressed him seriously. Thank you, Brother Zheng. This news is of utmost importance to us. Hey, don't. Zheng Sang hastily moved aside, smiling in embarrassment. Madam, please don't be like this. How can I accept this? Besides, I can't confirm the authenticity of this information. Qiao Xian shook her head with a smile. Even if it turns out to be false, Brother Zheng, you have served as a valuable reminder for Lord. I am grateful to you as well. We must remain vigilant about this matter, and make the necessary preparations. Feeding the people was a paramount concern. Without sustenance, all other considerations became inconsequential. Spring plowing was the most important thing of the year for the commoners. If anything went wrong, then DeputyPrefect Guan, who was always smiling, and the 3 big families, who were obviously not to be trifled with, would do something behind the scenes, and Xiao Yunduan would be put in a passive position. This was very dangerous. Zheng Sang had reminded them of something important, so Qiao Xian was very grateful that they had more time to prepare. Zheng Sang felt even more self-conscious upon hearing her gratitude. It's the least I can do. Xiao Yunduan returned before 3 in the afternoon. Having just arrived at the government office, he sensed countless pairs of eyes observing his every move from a not-too-distant vantage point. They meticulously analyzed each action, extracting numerous details about him. There was no immediate need for him to plunge into overtime upon arrival and inquire about everything. Aware that Mrs. Guan might have propagated rumors of Qiao Xian's supposed arrogance, he chose to adopt a more laid-back approach. Consequently, he gathered everyone for a morning meeting, engaged in a casual conversation with DeputyPrefect Guan, and enjoyed a leisurely meal. In the afternoon, he lingered for a while, perusing some inconsequential documents before heading back. Recognizing the value of a measured pace, Xiao Yunduan saw no urgency in hastening matters at the government office for a day or two. More haste, less speed. There had to be a way to find relaxation. His wife and the child in her womb needed his care even more. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1655. Qiao Xian is really calm. Qiao Xian was overjoyed to see him back. For pregnant women, nothing was more precious than the company of their loved ones. She asked with a smile, "Aren't you busy, husband?" Her joy multiplied when she heard his sweet assurance that her company was more important. Choosing to accompany her in the afternoon. The sunlight was radiant at this hour, with several large trees in the garden casting a broad shade, their thick branches reaching up. Feeling the confinement of staying indoors during the vibrant spring, Xiao Yunduan decided to join Qiao Xian in the garden. Li Xia and the others thoughtfully brought out a long bamboo couch, placing it in the shady spot of the garden. A small coffee table adorned with a beautiful tablecloth held an array of treats, fruit plates, pastries, snacks, and candied plums. A small stove nearby crackled with burning charcoal, and a copper kettle emitted white steam. Li Xiao efficiently brewed tea and served it to them. Kai Wei and the other little girls giggled and played around, engaged in cheerful activities with grass. Mrs. Guan, keeping an eye on the east yard, knew about Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's activities. Despite her annoyance, Mrs. Guan had resolved not to divulge any details about the east courtyard. Forcing herself to eat until full, she concealed her frustration, sneering at Nanny Ding and mocking Qiao Xian for being pretentious and disgusting. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had strategically chosen a location with no cover around the tree, preventing anyone from hiding or eavesdropping. This only added to Mrs. Guan's irritation. In high spirits, Qiao Xian settled down with Xiao Yunduan, updating him on Zheng Sang's visit. Xiao Yunduan was surprised to learn that Zheng Sang had already purchased a house and fields, prompting a smile. Brother Zheng is indeed very capable. Qiao Xian beamed. I mentioned that I would visit the mansion tomorrow. Are you busy? Not at all. I'll accompany you. Xiao Yunduan immediately agreed. That's wonderful. They exchanged smiles. Qiao Xian proceeded to share all the information Zheng Sang had conveyed to her. While Xiao Yunduan couldn't verify its accuracy, the details weren't far-fetched. Even Xie Jingrong, unaware of the latest news, would find this information crucial. Xiao Yunduan's demeanor turned serious upon hearing about the seed issue. Speaking in a low voice, he remarked, "If not for Brother Zheng's reminder, I might have overlooked this. Spring plowing is imminent, and it's indeed a critical matter. Any mishap could lead to civil unrest, and that's no trivial matter." Although they were distant from the capital, making it less likely for the princes to target him as before, they might seize this opportunity to harm him. Qiao Xian reassured him gently. Now that we're aware, we have ample time to make arrangements. Money is not an issue for us. Why don't we procure additional seeds? Remaining calm, Qiao Xian continued. Perhaps due to the pregnancy, my space hasn't shown signs of upgrading, and the land hasn't expanded further. However, the fertile farmland in my space still amounts to 4,000 mu. With rice and wheat ripening twice a year, the storage compartment already holds at least 3 to 5 million caddies. Even if a problem arises, we can discreetly use it as advanced seeds, ensuring a better yield than those outside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1656. New Manor. Xiao Yunduan nodded, pondered for a moment, and suggested, "It seems we need to send a trustworthy individual to Yuzhang and seek Brother Yuzhang's assistance." The Yuezheng family boasted extensive connections in the business world, making them an ideal source for procuring seeds with sufficient funds. While Qiao Xian considered Zhao Shu reliable, she acknowledged that Yuezheng Xiao's expertise in business surpassed his. Since Xiao Yunduan had no intention of asking Zhao Shu for help, she opted not to mention him. Instead, she smiled and said, "In that case, please ask young Master Yuezheng if he can assist us in acquiring various farming tools. I still plan to do some farming." Xiao Yunduan chuckled and agreed. All right. The following morning, they visited the mansion on Huayan Alley, 3rd Street in the east of the city together. Zheng Sang, Ms. Song, and Ms. Miao were already waiting. Qiao and Qing Lian approached Xiao Xian with eager eyes, restrained only by their mother's warning not to throw themselves at Madame Xiao. After spending some time in the main hall, Zheng Sang led them on a tour of the house. When An's province was established, it occupied a vast area, but the population growth had been slow. In recent years, more people had migrated, and the mansions built by the affluent in the city were truly expansive. This 3-way house was exceptionally large, covering over 12 mu. Xiao Xian estimated it to be closer to 15 mu. The garden especially stood out, surpassing even the one in the prefect's office. Despite having been neglected for a long time, the cleaning efforts by Zheng Sang and others left it still looking somewhat barren, lacking flowers. A few naturally growing trees added a touch of vitality. A lake within the garden, spanning nearly 2 mu, boasted clear water with aquatic plants growing on the shore. Remarkably, it was a living water source, fed by a spring in the lake that connected secretly to the outside, allowing water to flow. There was also a rectangular pavilion situated by the lake, offering an excellent spot for admiring the scenery or engaging in fishing. Xiao Xian particularly liked this place. Observing that the pavilion appeared a bit weathered, she contemplated having someone restore it. After thorough discussions, they circled the northeast corner of the garden and renovated the wall bordering the east courtyard, transforming it into a martial arts training ground to accommodate daily training needs. They cultivated a cadre of servants with robust martial capabilities. The following day, they departed from the city to inspect the farmland they had acquired in the southern suburbs. Similar to other regions, acquiring extensive paddy fields proved challenging, while drylands were comparatively more accessible. However, this time, fortune smiled upon them. The plot of land turned out to be flat ground at the exit of a valley. Although small hills dotted the landscape, it was generally level, a rarity in the surrounding mountainous terrain. Surrounded by wasteland, one side bordered the mountain range, while the other extended with small undulating hills. Weeds covered the area, and shrubs and vines claimed territory everywhere. Even medium-sized trees grew sporadically. Xiao Xian pointed at the barren yet lush land, outlining a circle. Tugging at Xiao Yunduan's sleeve, she proudly declared, "Husband, I want all of this land. Let's start with 3,000 mu." Xiao Yunduan responded with a smile. "Okay." As the newly appointed official of the region, Xiao Yunduan found it amusing that his wife desired to claim a piece of wasteland. The procedure was remarkably convenient. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1657. Buying land. In any case, they decided to sell the land at market price and engage in business. However, a mere 1,000 mu was not sufficient. Even 4,000 mu wasn't much, considering the limitations on developing plots suitable for easy farming. High mountains made cultivation inconvenient. Xiao Xian envisioned cultivating potatoes across the land. She aimed to elevate the status of potatoes in this region. Potatoes had proven to be highly productive. Both Lu Min and Gu Zhio had achieved commendable results and earned praise from the imperial court. Upon completing their 3-year terms, promotion for the duo was almost certain. Despite An's province's vast marshes, the scarcity of fertile fields resulted in insufficient food production. Promoting potatoes could potentially alleviate the food shortage. While 4,000 mu fell short of meeting their needs, it sufficed as a demonstration plot. Wu Guan and the others, including Zheng Sang, were present that day. They relocated to a house 500 meters away in Huayan Alley and went to the state office to meet Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan informed them of his intention to send a letter to Yuzhang, and he requested they organize a trip for its delivery. Zheng Sang volunteered to go and promised to bring along another person. The journey to Yuzhang would take merely 2.5 days. Indeed, An's prefecture city was close to Yuzhang province city, only 500 miles away. However, the rugged mountain paths extended the travel time. Otherwise, it could be covered in less than 2 days. Xiao Yunduan agreed without objection, handing the carefully prepared letter to Zheng Sang. He confirmed his departure for the following morning. In addition to purchasing 3,000 mu of flat land, Qiao also acquired 50,000 mu of wilderness. Upon discovering this, Deputy Prefect Guan and Mrs. Guan burst into laughter, nearly dropping the teacups in their hands. How naive! They've even bought such a worthless piece of land. I wonder what they plan to do with it. The couple mocked Qiao and Xiao Yunduan for a while. Mrs. Guan couldn't help but comment. Those lands might not be worth much individually, but altogether, those 50,000 mu of wilderness amount to 50,000 taels of silver. And the large house in the east of the city, 2,000 taels of silver, along with thousands of mu of wasteland. That adds up to 60,000 taels of silver, doesn't it? They bought so many things on the day of their arrival. Ms. Qiao's set of mahogany furniture isn't cheap, and the tea table is made of inlaid snails. How do they have so much money? Deputy Prefect Guan felt a bit uneasy when she mentioned this. Anne's province was in turmoil, with numerous demands for money, yet his income was limited. Despite accumulating some wealth over the years, he didn't possess 100,000 taels of silver. The new prefect had only been there for a few days, and he had already spent nearly 100,000 taels of money. Even though it was his own money, the comparison was quite stifling. Deputy Prefect Guan pondered further. They're buying houses and land. Could it be that they plan to settle in Anne's? Mrs. Guan grew even angrier, sneering. That depends on whether they have the capability to stay here. Deputy Prefect Guan nodded in agreement. Madam, you're right. I think they've been here for a few days. It's time to host a welcome banquet. Madam, go and talk to Madam Xiao so we can send an invitation. Mrs. Guan had no desire to see Qiao. Whenever she thought of her, the image of her proud demeanor and the term paying respect came to mind, leaving her utterly disgusted. She pretended to be indifferent, as she hadn't visited the East Yard to pay her respects, and Qiao hadn't sent anyone to confront her, so she saw no need to engage with her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1658. Liu Fu is happy. Observing her clear reluctance, Deputy Prefect Guan offered advice. She's the wife of the prefect, and you're the wife of the deputy prefect. You'll cross paths many times in the future. Don't let anger get the better of you. It only brings you down to her level. Mrs. Guan sighed. I won't stoop to her level. It's just that looking at such a person makes me unhappy. Old master is right. I can't avoid her from now on. Otherwise she'll think I'm afraid of her. Reluctantly, Mrs. Guan visited Qiao that day. Qiao was in discussions with Songshi and Mian about farming, and Liu Fu, who was also keenly interested, had tagged along with Qiao, Qinglian, and Xiao Er from the day before. Qiao asked them to stay for a few days. Liu Fu's ears perked up at the mention of staying. His face revealed envy, catching Qiao attention. Amused, she asked if he wanted to assist Songshi with errands, as Songshi couldn't manage everything alone. Qinglian, who was now working for Xiao Yunduan, showed no interest in these matters. Liu Fu eagerly nodded, expressing his willingness. Children from less privileged backgrounds mature early, burdened with the daily concern of putting food on the table. Liu Fu in particular envied those with fields. As he grew bolder, he began fantasizing about owning a large plot of land. Qiao, noticing his eagerness, couldn't bring herself to disappoint him. With a smile, she said, All right, you can run errands with Songshi and handle accounts with Mian. Once you've learned everything in a few years, they'll hire you to manage the large fields. How does that sound? Liu Fu's joy was evident as he nodded enthusiastically and pledged. He'll be an adult in 2 years. He'll definitely seek guidance from elder brother Songshi and sister Mian. Amidst laughter, the conversation shifted to hiring people for farming when Mrs. Guan arrived. Qiao, noticing her, furrowed her brow slightly, asked Songshi and the others to leave, and had Kaiwe invite Mrs. Guan inside. Mrs. Guan entered with a laugh, expressing, I've been wanting to come and chat with you for a while, but I've been unexpectedly busy these days. Today, I happen to have some free time, and I hope I'm not disturbing you, Madam Xiao. She took a seat on the left side of Qiao with a smile. Internally amused, Qiao noted Mrs. Guan's competitive nature. The impact of her words lingered, pushing Qiao Xian to find ways not to appear inferior. Yet she dismissed the thought. Considering their respective positions as the wife of the deputy prefect and the wife of the prefect, deliberately avoiding confrontation seemed futile. In a good mood and with no immediate need for confrontation, Qiao Xian opted not to tease her further. She greeted Mrs. Guan with a smile. "Mrs. Guan, what brings you here today?" "Mrs." Guan responded with a smile. "Yes, I have something to tell you today. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1659. Reception Banquet. Madam Xiao, you've been in Anne's province for a few days, and it seems you've had enough rest and recovery. A reception banquet is in order, and I'll be the host. Madam Xiao, I hope you'll honor me by attending tomorrow night, Mrs. Guan proposed. Qiao Xian, considering it an excellent opportunity to meet the local nobility and officials' wives, had this in mind. However, to maintain the image she had projected in front of Mrs. Guan, she had to uphold it for now. Thus she frowned and instinctively displayed a look of disdain. After a moment of contemplation, she reluctantly nodded. "Very well, Mrs. Guan. You can make the arrangements. I'll be there." Mrs. Guan nearly choked on those words, inwardly cursing. "Who told you to act so high and mighty? You're so arrogant. You're out of your mind." And so on. "Great, then the reception banquet will take place in the garden tomorrow. I'll send someone over to escort you, Madam Xiao." Mrs. Guan forced a smile, got up and declared, "I have matters to attend to. I won't disturb your rest. Goodbye." Qiao Xian simply replied, "You may leave now." Mrs. Guan's body visibly trembled, and she almost seemed on the verge of spewing blood. She turned around, left with a straight face, and Qiao Xian and her servants burst into laughter. Qiao suggested, "We should tease her more. Those from the west courtyard are so irritating." Kaiyue Mianmian and the others agreed, voicing their disdain. The nannies and maids from the west courtyard frequently approached them in various ways, attempting to get close and inquire about their master. It was laughable. Did they truly believe that they could win them over with peanuts, melon seeds, snacks, an embroidered handkerchief, and 2 rough silk flowers? They were delusional. Mrs. Guan experienced a burning humiliation in front of Qiao Xian, feeling a fiery turmoil in her chest. She couldn't help but curse in frustration, letting out her anger before managing to suppress it. Subconsciously, she lowered her gaze to her attire. To save face in front of Qiao Xian, she had meticulously dressed herself before meeting her. The outfit was tailored from the finest brocades from Jiangnan, adorned with exquisite and elegant flowers, radiating nobility. The pearl-studded jade hairpins in her hair were among her most expensive accessories, featuring thumb-sized pearls that were round and snow-white, paired with dazzling and magnificent jade. However, when she presented herself to Qiao Xian, the latter didn't spare her outfit a glance, and even the hairpins on Qiao Xian's maids, Li Xia and Li Qiao, seemed equally exquisite. This dismissal made Mrs. Guan so furious that her face flushed with heat. The shame deepened as she noticed the emerald bracelet on Qiao Xian's wrist. Mrs. Guan acknowledged that not only her attire, but even all her jewelry combined might not match the value of a single piece worn by Qiao Xian. The emerald bracelet spoke volumes of its supreme-grade quality, and even those with little knowledge of such things could sense its extraordinary nature with just a few glances. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1660. Feeling offended back in her room, Mrs. Guan grew angrier as she dwelled on the encounter. After venting her frustration, she sneered maliciously. Doesn't she know where she is? Humph, she's the one flaunting her wealth. Someone will come down from the mountain one day, humph. The thought of them being robbed one day brought a hint of satisfaction to Mrs. Guan, a dark look flashing across her eyes. Nanny Ding, noticing Mrs. Guan's emotions, tried to console her, and they began discussing the arrangements for the banquet the next day. The reception banquet had already been prepared, and the invitations were ready. It was an event that had to take place sooner or later. Nanny Ding swiftly dispatched people to deliver invitations, and provided the menu to the kitchen for arrangements. The opera troupe, having been informed a few days ago, was ready to perform. Mrs. Guan, torn between her desire to showcase her hosting abilities and her reluctance to make the reception too grand for Qiao Xian, found herself annoyed. In the end, her inclination to flaunt prevailed. Mrs. Guan meticulously inquired about the banquet details and made specific arrangements. The following day, Mrs. Guan organized a reception banquet in the garden, while Deputy Prefect Guan and the three major families collectively reserved the best local restaurant to welcome Xiaoyunduan. Around 10 in the morning, guests began to arrive one after another in the backyard of the state government office. Qiao Xian wasted no time and headed to the reception pavilion in the garden. Although the reception was in her honor, being held in the government office made her the host. Arriving early seemed more appropriate, allowing her to greet the guests individually and gain a better understanding of the situation. When Qiao Xian arrived with Li Qiao, Kaiwe Kaihua, Qiao, and Qing Lian, only 2 or 3 ladies were present, and Mrs. Guan was engaged in conversation with them. Upon noticing Qiao Xian and her attendants approaching, Mrs. Guan's smile froze, and an instinctive feeling of territorial violation crept in. Strangely enough, she hadn't experienced this sensation even when other prefect wives visited. Or if she did, it was fleeting and quickly dissipated. Yet, the intrusion of Madame Xiao into her perceived territory was particularly potent for Mrs. Guan. It almost overwhelmed her, causing her to suppress a smile and curse inwardly. Mrs. Guan took a deep breath, glanced at the 3 ladies, and forced a smile. "This is Madame Xiao. Let's welcome her." As they approached, Mrs. Guan chuckled. "The guests haven't arrived yet, but here you are. A distinguished guest like you should be the grand finale." Qiao Xian smiled in response. "Certainly important guests should be the highlight, but being the host, it's more appropriate for me to arrive early." Her gaze shifted to the 3 ladies, and she continued with a smile. "Allow me to introduce." Mrs. Guan found herself on the defensive in this round. Gritting her teeth, she spoke with a forced smile. "This is the first Madam and second Mrs. Wen. And here is elder Miss Wen, the daughter of the first Madam. And this is Madame Xiao, the new wife of the prefect." The 2 ladies and elder miss from the Wen family greeted Qiao Xian with smiles. Returning the gesture with a gentle smile, Qiao Xian raised her hands. "So you are the ladies of the Wen family. Please don't stand on ceremony. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1661. Guest Qiao Xian smiled and complimented eldest Miss Wen on her gentle temperament and outstanding appearance. Eldest Miss Wen responded with a shy smile, bringing joy to the 2 ladies. First Madam Wen maintained a humble smile. Initially somewhat nervous, the 2 ladies from the Wen family observed that Madame Xiao exuded a pleasant demeanor, gradually putting them at ease. They engaged in polite conversation with Qiao Xian. Mrs. Guan, however, grew increasingly displeased. With a forced smile, she interrupted and inquired about the health of the Wen family's old master. Unable to contribute much to this topic, Qiao Xian refrained from speaking and instead enjoyed her tea with a smile, allowing the conversation to unfold. The 2 madams of the Wen family felt a bit uncomfortable discussing their father-in-law's illness on such a festive occasion. Caught in a dilemma, they couldn't ignore Mrs. Guan either. Fortunately, relief came with the arrival of another lady. Mrs. Guan greeted her warmly, recognizing a familiar face. The conversation shifted, and the 2 Wen ladies breathed a sigh of relief. Mrs. Guan, whether she liked it or not, continued introducing guests to Qiao Xian with a forced smile. Despite her initial anger, she began to numb to the situation. She couldn't halt the introductions, considering Qiao Xian's pivotal role as the distinguished guest in all future banquets. As more guests arrived, the garden buzzed with activity. Fragrant-clad women filled the air with chatter and laughter. Finally, the 2 madams of the Hua family, one of the 3 prominent families in An's province, made their entrance. They were accompanied by second Mrs. Hua's 2 daughters. First Madame Hua had only 2 sons and no legitimate daughters, but she had 3 concubine daughters, none of whom accompanied her to the gathering. As one of the 3 major families, the Hua family held a higher status than the other clans. Upon the arrival of the two madams from the Hua family, the other madams stood up, offering warm greetings to demonstrate their respect. Even Mrs. Guan unconsciously became more polite and displayed a kinder smile. The two madams Hua secretly reveled in their elevated status. With the longest history in An's province and deep roots, the Hua family considered themselves unrivaled. Even officials' wives were courteous, a sign of the respect they commanded. Seated, the two madams Hua, along with their daughters Hua Ruyu and Hua Ruxian, maintained an air of pride even in Qiao Xian's presence. First Madame Hua greeted Qiao Xian as if she were the host, praising An's province's richness, beautiful scenery, and simple-hearted people. Madame Xiao, being new here, you'll find our place quite delightful once you explore more. I propose we organize a gathering together. Laughter and agreement rippled through the assembly. Qiao Xian responded with a warm smile, her eyes radiating brightness. First Madame Hua, your words make it sound enticing. I'm genuinely interested. I plan to explore the area soon, and we can certainly arrange a celebration together. Supportive smiles and expressions of honor filled the room. After a while, the two madams of the Mei family arrived. The Mei family lacked an old master or old lady, with the eldest son overseeing affairs. The three brothers still resided together. However, third Madame Mei was absent that day, and the daughters of the Mei family did not accompany their mothers to the gathering. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1662. Hope failed. She was dumbfounded. Although the Mei family possessed abundant local farmland and mountain shops, their primary business centered around wood and furniture. Most family members often traveled for business, and they maintained a peculiar temperament, avoiding close interactions with other family clans. They preferred solitude, distancing themselves from social engagements. The three brothers of the Mei family were formidable individuals. If provoked, they wouldn't engage in open disputes. Instead, the offending family would gradually experience hardships, ultimately reaching a point of ruin. These repercussions appeared unrelated to the Mei family on the surface. Initially, nobody suspected the Mei family's involvement. However, over time, a few discerning individuals began connecting the dots, sharing this information among the prominent families. Soon none dared to easily offend the Mei family. Outwardly, the Mei family maintained an air of calmness, behaving as if they were never involved in anything sinister. The two Mei family ladies courteously greeted Qiao Xian, the prefect's wife, and then took their seats without further conversation. Exchanging pleasantries seemed unnecessary. However, no one dared to disregard or underestimate them. Several madams smiled, taking the initiative to greet the Mei family. Qiao Xian, not rushing to establish connections, observed the Mei family's distinctiveness. Indeed, they differed significantly from other families. Mrs. Guan felt a bit disappointed. She had anticipated witnessing a spectacle. After all, Qiao Xian's arrogance and conceit left no room for anyone to save face. How could she tolerate any perceived disrespect from the two Mei family ladies? If she dared to confront them publicly, they would respond with an unyielding attitude. Moreover, they would undoubtedly use their influence to bring harm upon both her and the prefect. However, this was the characteristic nature of the Mei family. To Mrs. Guan's surprise, Qiao Xian displayed no reaction at all. There was no indication of her intending to argue with the Mei family ladies, nor did she exhibit any signs of anger towards them. Disappointed and a bit dumbfounded, Mrs. Guan suddenly recalled that Madame Xiao appeared different from what she had observed in the past. No, it wasn't just a seeming difference. It was an outright change. Previously, Madame Xiao had consistently presented herself in an annoying manner. Yet today she greeted everyone with smiles, gentleness, and amiability. Mrs. Guan grew even more infuriated, internally scolding Qiao Xian for putting on a facade and pretending to be someone she was not. She now understood that Madame Xiao was deliberately here to embarrass her and make her unhappy. She wasn't alone in this realization. Even her husband, Lord Xiao, seemed to be picking a fight with her and her old master. Mrs. Guan's determination to fight back surged, and she sneered inwardly. Lord Qiao and Madame Qiao held no sway in Anne's province. If they wanted trouble as soon as they arrived, then she wouldn't hold back. The final guests to arrive were the madams and young ladies of the Fan family. The Fan family, along with the Hua family and the Mei family, constituted the three major families in Anne's province. Currently led by Old Lady Fan, the Fan family had 2 sons and a daughter. Old Lady Fan cherished her daughter greatly and couldn't bear to see her married off. Fearing potential mistreatment in another family, she took it upon herself to find a suitable husband for her. This decision had surprised many. Nevertheless, as long as the Fan family was willing, there were individuals eager to offer their sons as potential matches to gain a powerful in-law like the Fan family. Others had no grounds for objection, and they congratulated the couple during the wedding banquet, saying, "Congratulations! If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1663. Biased in this direction as for the 2 sons of the Fan family, now known as First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan, along with their respective wives, it was none of their concern. Upon hearing the news, Qiao Xian was equally surprised. Doting on a daughter didn't seem to be that straightforward. If he truly favored his daughter, then it was imperative to instill in her the qualities of discernment, knowledge, talent, responsibility, courage, and intelligence. Qiao Xian believed in providing her with adequate protection and support, ensuring she possessed the skills to navigate through life's challenges wherever she went. In the best-case scenario, she would lead a content and fulfilling life. This Qiao Xian considered genuine love for a daughter. Yet, the fact remained that he favored his daughter over his 2 sons. Despite having 2 sons, he chose to keep his daughter at home in pursuit of a suitable son-in-law. In the context of ancient times, was this truly an expression of paternal affection? Had he considered how his sons and daughters-in-law would treat his daughter in his absence? Qiao Xian found his bias towards his daughter somewhat peculiar. Even if they were reluctant to let their daughter face challenges in her in-laws' house, they could have provided more dowry and support for the couple within the Fan family's influential background. They doubted that with the Fan family's status and local influence, the in-laws would dare to separate the couple. Upon learning that Old Lady Fan was perceived as conceited, prideful, and arbitrary, Qiao Xian wasn't surprised. Such a temperament was inconsistent with taking such drastic measures. Today the Fan family had dispatched the first Madam, Second Mrs. Fan, along with Second Mrs. Fan's 2 daughters, Fan Jing and Fan Xiao. Additionally, the young Madam of the Fan family, Bai Ruerue, and her daughter were present. While First Madam Fan had a legitimate son, Fan Yuzong, the second branch of the family lacked a son, even from a concubine. Fan Ruyan and her husband had a son, Baimo, who was only 2 years younger than Fan Yuzong. This time, the atmosphere within the Fan clan was even more vibrant. Madam Lady Qiao had consistently exhibited arbitrary behavior, leveraging her seniority with an air of arrogance and narrow-mindedness. Regardless of the banquet, she would invariably be the last to arrive, a habit that permeated the entire Fan family of women. Today was no exception, and everyone had grown accustomed to it. Mrs. Guan warmly welcomed them and introduced Qiao Xian with a smile. Before First Madam Fan and Second Mrs. Fan could utter a word, Fan Ruyan broke into laughter. "I never imagined Madame Qiao to be so young. Lord Qiao is indeed youthful and promising. Anzizu is fortunate to have him as an official. Madame Qiao exudes demure charm, and I feel an instant connection with her." First Madam Fan and Second Mrs. Fan exchanged glances, offering smiles that seemed to affirm Fan Ruyan's words. However, a discerning eye could detect a lack of genuine warmth in their expressions. It was clear they were compelled to go along with and support Fan Ruyan, demonstrating a silent understanding between the two. Qiao Xian maintained a polite smile, responding to the seemingly spoiled Fan Ruyan. However, Qiao Xian had no interest in engaging with such a self-righteous individual. Establishing genuine friendship with someone of such demeanor appeared nearly impossible. Either one's status had to significantly surpass hers, eliciting wholehearted flattery, or there was little room for equal footing. Chapter 1664. What a prodigal if your status is inferior to hers. She will undoubtedly view you with disdain, treating you merely as a lackey to be summoned and manipulated at will. Furthermore, dealing with such an individual could be precarious due to their small-minded nature. A seemingly innocuous statement or minor incident might unknowingly incur her displeasure, leading to unforeseen consequences and potential retaliation. Hence, it is advisable to maintain surface-level politeness and keep a safe distance from such personalities. Unexpectedly, Qiao Xian had already unintentionally irked Fan Ruyan. Upon arriving at An's province, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan promptly purchased a house and land. The laughter wasn't confined to Deputy Prefect and Mrs. Guan. Many others chuckled behind their backs. The couple's claim of hailing from the capital only fueled the mockery. The decision to invest in a desolate mountain and wilderness appeared short-sighted to onlookers. Questions arose. Wasn't the spacious courtyard behind the state government office sufficient for their needs? And the extravagant purchase of a separate house for servants seemed wasteful. People struggled to comprehend the couple's motives. Did they plan to stay in this remote area for an extended period? Such a notion was unprecedented. The Fan family, particularly Fan Ruyan, took delight in ridiculing Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. Fan Ruyan, adept at making jests, had been entertaining her mother with tales of their purchases. Connecting the dots, she voiced her concern to her mother. Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao seem so fixated on farmland that they even bought desolate land in the wilderness. Are they hinting that we should provide them with prime farmland? Mom, what if Lord Xiao brings it up? We need a strategy. Old Lady Fan agreed with her daughter's assessment and felt a surge of disdain. Daring to contemplate our benefits and seize them, they will face the consequences. They must be courting death. Tell your brothers to be careful. First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan dismissed the concerns, believing that local officials wouldn't engage in such actions. They considered local officials to be astute individuals, aiming to maintain good relations with prominent local families for effective governance. Their confidence was bolstered by the fact that their Fan clan held a prestigious position among the three great clans, alleviating any apprehensions. In their view, An's province differed from other regions, and even if the prefect harbored any greed, it would likely be limited to monetary interests. The fields, they reasoned, were not beyond his reach. Consequently, they reassured their mother that there was no need for undue worry. However, Fan Ruyan found her brother's lack of agreement disheartening. She persistently pressed them, expressing her discontent and feeling slighted. Aware that she had initiated the discussion, she vehemently defended her stance, exacerbating the discord with her two brothers, who already harbored disdain for her. This discord displeased Old Lady Fan, prompting her to reprimand her two sons. Taking a firm stand in support of Fan Ruyan, she lectured them. Being cautious is not amiss. Lord Xiao and his wife are even eyeing the wilderness. It's uncertain they won't covet our fields. Ruyan has a point. We must plan ahead and devise a strategy. We can't afford to lose out. As elder brothers, your considerations must match Ruyan's thoroughness. The two sons, well aware of their mother's temperament, hesitated to challenge her, understanding the difficulty of pacifying her once angered. Reluctantly, they placated her, as being labeled unfilial was a scenario they could ill afford. Chapter 1665. Remembering Qiao Xian therefore, the two old masters of the Fan family promptly apologized to their mother and sister, assuring them that they would attentively consider their viewpoints. Old Lady Fan and Fan Ruyan's spirits lifted again. Fan Ruyan had attended the banquet to scrutinize Madame Xiao's appearance. Despite preparing herself to be critical, upon seeing Qiao Xian, she found no fault to pick at. Madame Xiao, young, beautiful, gracious, gentle, and elegant, captivated attention with her splendid attire, emerging as the focal point of the gathering. She possessed an allure that held people's gazes for an extended moment. Feeling somewhat perplexed, Fan Ruyan couldn't discern whether she was disappointed or not. Despite her uncertainty, she found herself smiling at Qiao Xian, either out of curiosity or a desire to glean information about the genuine noble families in the capital. Even though the prefect of An's prefecture saw frequent turnovers and changes, no prefect had hailed from the capital until Lord Xiao's appointment, making him the first. Yet despite Fan Ruyan's attempt to extend goodwill, It wasn't apparent to onlookers. She believed that her willingness, as the great-aunt of the Fan family, to express goodwill towards the new prefect's wife should elicit surprise and gratitude. However, Qiao Xian's response showed no signs of surprise, happiness, or gratitude. Despite her smiling demeanor and gentle tone, Qiao Xian treated her no differently than others, leaving Fan Ruyan feeling slighted, as if she had been overlooked. As Fan Ruyan picked up her teacup, her expression soured, and she mentally noted to Qiao Xian, "Just wait and see." Qiao Xian remained oblivious to the unfolding dynamics. As everyone arrived one after another, it neared noon. With a warm smile, Mrs. Guan sought Qiao Xian's opinion, proposing to commence with the banquet before the entertainment. Qiao Xian, displaying no objections, graciously thanked Mrs. Guan with a polite smile. Mrs. Guan's smile grew even more gracious and genial, repeatedly stating it was her duty while secretly harboring less pleasant thoughts. As the banquet commenced, Mrs. Guan invited Qiao Xian to the main table and gestured for everyone to be seated. With a smile, she informed Qiao Xian, "I've arranged for the renowned specialty dishes of An's province. Madam Xiao, as our distinguished guest, you must savor them later. The local delicacies are highly esteemed by the residents here." Laughter filled the air. "That's right. Anzeza's cuisine is exceptional. Madam Xiao, you must give it a try and see how much you enjoy it. Madam Xiao is sure to be pleased." Observing the peculiar smiles on everyone's faces, Qiao Xian couldn't help but wonder about the enigmatic culinary surprises Mrs. Guan had in store. Intrigued, she remained unfazed. If Mrs. Guan anticipated her discomfort or an embarrassing situation, she would likely be disappointed. Qiao Xian had encountered and tasted many unusual dishes that were beyond Mrs. Guan's imagination. Before the first dish made its appearance, an unpleasant odor wafted through the air. Li Xia and Kai Wei were the ones serving Qiao Xian, while Kai Hua, Li Qiao, and Qiao Qiao were stationed elsewhere with Mrs. Guan's proficient maids and servants. Chapter 1666. Who wouldn't like to watch the show? Upon catching the pungent odor of the fish, both Li Xia and Kai Wei frowned, directing annoyed glances at Mrs. Guan. Their irritation stemmed from the perceived bullying they felt from Mrs. Guan. In their view, using local dishes as a pretext was just an excuse. How could Mrs. Guan dare to serve something like this to Madam, especially considering her pregnancy? Madam hadn't experienced morning sickness during her pregnancy, thanks to her robust health and the attentive care provided by Lord. His meticulous concern extended to every aspect of Madam's life, particularly her diet, where he maintained an unwavering vigilance. Madam's recent diet had been a collection of light and delectable dishes, with a variety of soups prepared daily to ensure she didn't lose her appetite. In stark contrast, Mrs. Guan had orchestrated a foolish attempt to serve something unconventional. Qiao Xian's composed expression only fueled Mrs. Guan's inner sneer, finding solace in Li Xia and Kai Yu's visible discontent. Curling her lips, Mrs. Guan introduced the fish to Qiao Xian with a warm smile, claiming it as Anzeza's secret stinky fish, reserved for the most esteemed guests, emphasizing Madam Xiao's importance. "Madam Xiao, be our guest and have a taste of this exclusive delicacy." The laughter from the other ladies echoed Mrs. Guan's sentiment. However, it was apparent to everyone that outsiders might find this dish challenging to appreciate. Typically, if such a unique dish were to be served, it would be explained to the esteemed guests beforehand. They would then decide whether to try it or not. Mrs. Guan's actions seemed more geared toward embarrassing the prefect's new wife. Those who outwardly supported Mrs. Guan were likely maintaining their rapport with her. However, many believed that the prefect's tenure might be short-lived, and consequently, they paid little attention to Qiao Xian. Who wouldn't like to watch a show? Fan Ruyan took particular delight in the situation, relishing the hope that Qiao Xian would embarrass herself. This was precisely why Fan Ruyan mockingly referred to her as Rui. Mrs. Guan, orchestrating the theatrical presentation, directed the maid to place the dish in front of Qiao Xian. Rather than succumb to potential embarrassment, Qiao Xian exhibited genuine interest, expressing with a smile, "Since it's a specialty of An's prefecture, I should give it a try. However, Mrs. Guan, you've mistaken me for a distinguished guest. I am, in fact, the wife of the prefect." Mrs. Guan's smile faltered, and she half-jokingly remarked through gritted teeth, My apologies. Madam Qiao, you're truly magnanimous. Please don't take it to heart. Qiao Xian reciprocated with a smile. Mrs. Guan, there's no need to apologize. It's not a significant matter. I'm merely reminding you that I'm here in An's province with my lord, not as a mere guest. That's right, absolutely, echoed Mrs. Guan, feigning agreement with a forced smile. As they exchanged smiles, an undercurrent of mutual disdain lingered between them. Qiao Xian disliked Mrs. Guan's constant attempts to assert her dominance, as if Qiao Xian had encroached upon her territory. Conversely, Mrs. Guan harbored a general aversion towards Qiao Xian. Maintaining her composure, Qiao Xian instructed Li Xia to pick up some fish with chopsticks. After tasting it, she nodded approvingly at Mrs. Guan and remarked with a smile. This stinky fish has a pungent aroma, but the taste is delightful. It seems to be marinated and dried, offering a chewy texture and a hint of sunshine in its flavor. Chapter 1667. Who knows? This weirdo Qiao Xian greeted everyone with a warm smile. Let's eat. Caught off guard, Mrs. Guan quickly composed herself and responded. Yes, yes, please, please. Smiles and pleasantries were exchanged before everyone began partaking in the dishes presented. Dish after dish was served, and for the most part, Mrs. Guan had successfully organized the reception banquet. Any hiccups or mishaps would reflect on her, and the guests were well aware of this. With Qiao Xian being absolved of any responsibility, Mrs. Guan's desire to embarrass Qiao Xian remained unfulfilled, leaving her with no outlet for her frustration. Aware of Qiao Xian's pregnancy, Mrs. Guan estimated that it hadn't progressed beyond 3 months. As a mother of 2, she possessed keen insights into the signs of pregnancy, particularly the early stages. During the initial 3 months, most pregnant women experience nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, and overall discomfort. In some cases, these symptoms could be quite severe, making even a few sips of water nauseating. Given the strong aroma of the secret stinky fish, Mrs. Guan doubted that many outsiders could stomach it, let alone a pregnant woman in the early stages. She secretly hoped Qiao Xian would experience a bout of nausea or, better yet, vomit on the spot. Such an embarrassing spectacle would leave an indelible mark on the prefect's wife. Regardless of future banquets in An's province, the memory of this reception would linger, stoking Mrs. Guan's anger. The more Mrs. Guan dwelled on it, the more she deemed it a brilliant idea. She eagerly anticipated Qiao Xian's reaction, only to be met with bewilderment. This odd woman, clearly in the early stages of pregnancy, managed to enjoy the stinky fish with a smile, even going so far as to praise its supposed sunlight aroma, which Mrs. Guan found non-existent. Regret gnawed at Mrs. Guan. Had she foreseen this outcome, she might have prepared alternative dishes. Now, facing this awkward situation, she feared becoming the subject of mockery among the attending ladies. As the banquet unfolded, the madams indulged in wine, contributing to a lively atmosphere. Pear blossom wine, with its mellow and moderately sweet flavor, was served. Qiao Xian, sharing news of her pregnancy with a smile, received congratulations but refrained from drinking. Fan Rian harbored regret, convinced that if Qiao Xian weren't pregnant, Mrs. Guan would persist in embarrassing her, perhaps urging everyone to toast her, or even concocting some mischief in her drink. An entertaining scenario, in her opinion. The banquet proceeded smoothly, and after consuming noodles, the madams strolled leisurely into the garden to digest their food, sip tea, and engaged in conversations. Some took breaks to freshen up. Nearly an hour later, they regrouped to enjoy opera and other entertainment. Qiao Xian found herself in the parlor, engaged in conversation with several ladies. Mrs. Guan had contemplated returning to her room for a wardrobe change, but hesitated, reluctant to leave Qiao Xian alone. Uncertain about the topic of discussion among the ladies, she decided to join them and engage in conversation. Chapter 1668. Young Master Guan. Mrs. Guan understood that if Qiao Xian persisted in making friends with the other ladies, she would find ample opportunities, and Mrs. Guan couldn't prevent her. Nevertheless, Mrs. Guan found it unbearable to witness Qiao Xian's sociable interactions right under her nose. Seeing Qiao Xian chatting amiably with the other ladies filled her with discontent, and she silently wished that the ladies would ignore Qiao Xian altogether. Sensing it was almost time for a break, Mrs. Guan stood up and suggested that everyone head to the garden stage to enjoy the show. This tactical move aimed to curtail the prefect's wife's conversations with the other madams, which had become an eyesore for Mrs. Guan. Qiao, along with the others, exited the reception pavilion. To her surprise, shortly after leaving the pavilion, as they walked halfway along the corridor toward the waterside theater, a boy around 7 or 8 years old darted towards them. Chasing after him were a maidservant who appeared to be a nanny and 2 more maidservants. Recognizing the child, the madams and young ladies greeted him enthusiastically and made way. "Hello, young Master Guan." It was Guan Jialing, the son of the deputy prefect and his wife. Known for his mischievous nature, Guan Jialing, pampered by his mother, often acted as a little tyrant in the state government office's backyard. Even when attending events as a guest, he rarely displayed well-behaved conduct. With the reception banquet for Qiao underway, Mrs. Guan foresaw being occupied and unable to attend to her son. Anxious that he might cause trouble, yet concerned he might be mistreated, Mrs. Guan instructed the nanny and 2 maids to care for the young master and prevent him from leaving the west yard. The nanny and the 2 maidservants reluctantly accepted the order, all the while nursing silent complaints in their hearts. Dealing with young master's strong-willed personality posed a formidable challenge, and they knew it wouldn't be easy to confine him to the western campus for an entire half-day. Their expectations turned out to be accurate. Despite their best efforts, they could only manage to detain him for half a day. After lunch, all attempts to restrain him proved futile. Small in stature but surprisingly strong, he resisted any attempts to control him physically. Moreover, given his favored status as the master's son and his tendency to complain to Mrs. Guan, the nanny and 2 maids dared not impede his movements. Fearing repercussions if he reported their actions to Mrs. Guan, they opted to avoid any confrontation. Besides, having been on the receiving end of his physical aggression for no apparent reason before, they deemed it not worth the trouble. Resigned to the situation, the nanny and the 2 maidservants accompanied him beyond the west courtyard, allowing him to frolic in the expansive garden. Children, inherently energetic, were especially exuberant when mischievous. Considering they were within the estate's grounds, the nanny and maidservants exercised leniency, taking advantage of the moment to rest. To their surprise, in the blink of an eye, Guan Jialing had vanished. Upon spotting him, the nanny observed him heading towards Madame Xiao's reception banquet and hastened to catch up. As her son approached, Mrs. Guan cast a disapproving glance at the nanny and the 2 maids, though a trace of happiness lingered at the sight of her son after a brief absence. Before Mrs. Guan could utter a word, Guan Jialing abruptly shook her off and kicked Qiao, startling everyone present. Reacting swiftly, Qiao blocked Qiao's path, but Guan Jialing persistently kicked and hit her several times while vehemently scolding her. "Who told you to bully my mother? Who told you to bully my mother? I will kick you to death." Hit hit hit. Upon realizing it was Qiao who bore the brunt of the kicks, Guan Jialing redirected his aggression toward Qiao. Chapter 1669. Shouldn't Mrs. Guan give an explanation? Qiao hurriedly intervened to stop Guan Jialing, while Li Xia, frightened, assisted Qiao to a safer location. People, startled by the commotion, quickly regained their senses and rushed forward to help. Anxiously crying out, Mrs. Guan pleaded, "Jiar, stop." As she rushed forward to pull him away, the already narrow corridor became even more crowded, with people pushing and colliding amid the chaos. The cacophony of screams and shouts intensified. Lord Qiao swiftly intervened, pulling Guan Jialing back from the turmoil. Mrs. Guan, fearing her son might be hurt inadvertently, struggled to keep pace. "Jiar, calm down. Don't misbehave." Concerned that Qiao might retaliate against her son, Mrs. Guan sought to protect him and instructed those around her. "Take the young master home, be cautious, and avoid frightening him." The tumultuous atmosphere, filled with shouts and screams, distressed her son. Mrs. Guan's heart ached at the thought. Li Qiao, Qiao, and the others were present, and upon seeing Qiao unharmed, they sighed in relief. As the scene gradually calmed, Mrs. Guan, looking at her son with concern, appeared as if he had been wronged. Qiao, incensed, sneered and addressed Mrs. Guan. Mrs. Guan, don't you owe me an explanation? All eyes turned toward them, and the madams and young ladies waited for Mrs. Guan's response. In the face of Qiao Xian's question, Mrs. Guan felt a mixture of embarrassment and irritation. She struggled to maintain composure, forcing a smile as she replied, Madam Xiao, the child is still young and thoughtless. Are you genuinely upset by such a child? Li Xia and the others, infuriated by Mrs. Guan's shameless behavior, glared at her with disdain. Qiao Xian sneered. Indeed, the child is young and naive, but I would like to know, Mrs. Guan, where did he pick up such words? Who taught him this? When did I ever mistreat you, Mrs. Guan? Please clarify. Mrs. Guan, feeling a mix of anger and anxiety, retorted. Children can be talkative. He might have said something without any basis. Madam Xiao, why are you dwelling on this matter? Do you suspect that I instructed him? It's absurd. Why would I teach my son to say such things? What benefit would it bring me to teach him that? That was Mrs. Guan's response. Qiao Xian's lingering suspicion further fueled Mrs. Guan's frustration. She genuinely had not coached her son to make such statements. She had never uttered anything of the sort in his presence. Puzzled as to why her son had intervened on her behalf, she speculated that the nanny and maidservants might have shared something with him. Mrs. Guan, however, saw her son's actions as considerate rather than misguided. Moreover, he hadn't harmed Qiao Xian. He had merely kicked one of the maids a few times, which she considered inconsequential. Seizing the moment to assert herself, Qiao Xian coldly stated, That is your concern, and it doesn't involve me. If you don't offer an explanation, this matter won't be dropped. Suddenly, Qiao Xian winced, placing her hands on her belly. My stomach is in pain. It hurts. Li Xia, Li Qiao, and the others were thrown into a panic. Chapter 1670 Shocked Madam. Don't be afraid. Madam, you must be shocked. Madam, please be all right. Get a doctor. Where's old master? Go and tell him. A Euro Li Xia, Li Qiao, and the others were panicking, and Mrs. Guan was startled too. She quickly instructed someone to help Qiao Xian sit down. Despite the pain, Qiao Xian scolded them. Don't come here. Don't come here. Mrs. Guan stiffened and concealed her inner fury. What kind of look was that? I am so sorry for what happened today. I will hold a banquet for you another day. I am so sorry. Qiao Xian threw a look at the crowd and gestured for Li Xia and Li Qiao to assist her. Kai Yue, Kai Hua, and the others hurriedly followed. Mrs. Guan seethed with anger. She had organized the reception banquet, and it ended up like this. How unlucky. Uncertain if Qiao Xian's stomachache was genuine or an act, Mrs. Guan, amidst the chaos, couldn't discern the truth. Nevertheless, she felt compelled to check and express concern, given the situation. Forced to smile, Mrs. Guan bid farewell to everyone. Recognizing that the reception banquet had concluded prematurely due to the incident, the guests swiftly conveyed polite sentiments, expressed concern for Madame Xiao, and departed one by one. After apologizing, Mrs. Guan instructed the housekeeper to see off the guests, and then hurried to the east courtyard. Qiao Xian was startled, but her stomach did not hurt. However, Mrs. Guan's attitude was so irritating that she couldn't let it slide without causing some trouble. When Mrs. Guan arrived, Qiao Xian was feigning pain, and Li Xia and the others were anxiously trying to comfort her. Soon Xiao Yunduan rushed in. Wife. Although Qiao Xian had been pretending, seeing Xiao Yunduan made her feel wronged. She started crying in his arms, complaining about how frightened she was. Xiao Yunduan's heart ached. He gently patted her shoulders and offered words of comfort. Then he shot a cold look at Mrs. Guan. Standing there, Mrs. Guan felt extremely embarrassed, unsure whether to stay or leave. She even regretted following them in. Now that she was crying and being comforted by her husband, it was not appropriate for Mrs. Guan to interrupt, let alone turn around and leave. When the doctor finally arrived, Xiao Yunduan asked the doctor to examine Qiao Xian. Mrs. Guan's heart raced as she nervously awaited the doctor's verdict. The diagnosis revealed that Qiao Xian had experienced a miscarriage and needed to rest in bed. She was prescribed medicine for 3 days and advised to return for a follow-up. Xiao Yunduan nodded, instructing the doctor to write the prescription and procure the medicine. He assisted Qiao Xian in lying down and instructed her to rest well. Then he stood up and turned to Mrs. Guan. Mrs. Guan, please come this way. Mrs. Guan finally seized an opportunity to speak. She let out a sigh of relief and forced a smile. Lord Qiao actually Euro. Mrs. Guan, please. Let's discuss this outside. We mustn't disturb my wife's rest. She cannot endure any more shocks. Taken aback, Mrs. Guan nodded and left. In the hall, Deputy Prefect Guan was also present. Upon learning that Madame Qiao had a miscarriage but was otherwise fine, he felt relieved. Mrs. Guan, eager to explain herself, hurriedly said, Lord Qiao, this is all a misunderstanding. The child is still young and inexperienced. Chapter 1671. Interrogation Misunderstanding. Xiao Yunduan shot them a cold look. I don't see any misunderstanding here. Both Mrs. Guan and her husband were taken aback by Xiao Yunduan's unexpected rudeness. They looked somewhat surprised, and Mrs. Guan couldn't help but interject. Lord Qiao, Madame Qiao is fine, isn't she? Of course, I failed to take good care of her today, and for that, I apologize. Euro. Mrs. Guan made the apology sound like a reluctant concession. If she had known she was in a feudal competition with Qiao Xian, and wanted to outdo her in every aspect, she might have chosen to apologize earlier. Realizing it felt as though she had slapped herself in the face. Xiao Yunduan grew angrier, glaring sharply at Mrs. Guan. In your eyes, my wife might seem fine after the shock, but what if something had gone wrong? You've certainly taught your son well, considering his young age. Mrs. Guan disliked hearing disparaging remarks about her son. Lord Qiao, that's going too far. Jiar is just a child. Had he been a few years older, Mrs. Guan might have realized the potential consequences. Indignant, Mrs. Guan retorted. What do you mean by that? Xiao Yunduan sneered. How do you plan to explain your young master's absurd words to me? Where did he hear such ridiculous things? Mrs. Guan, dissatisfied and eager to argue, was stopped by Deputy Prefect, who wore an amiable expression that softened people's anger. His demeanor and smile left a positive impression. He courteously cupped his hands. Lord Qiao, please calm down. This woman is ignorant and inarticulate. She doesn't know how to express herself. Lord Qiao, disregard her. It's all her fault. She failed to take proper care of the child. Fortunately, Madame Qiao is blessed. Otherwise, I would never forgive this woman. Once Madame Qiao is better, I'll have her prepare a gift before coming to apologize sincerely. Naturally, we will cover the expenses for the treatment and medicine. We won't allow Lord to spend any more money. He continued to apologize profusely with a bitter smile. Jiar is still young and doesn't know any better. I don't know who's spreading rumors, but Lord Qiao, please believe me. I have no intention of interfering in your governance of this state. My wife harbors no ill intentions either. I will thoroughly investigate this matter and provide you with a clear explanation. Xiao Yunduan's fury did not diminish. However, Guan Jialing was genuinely just a child who lacked understanding. Arguing with such an insensible child would serve no purpose. That was precisely why Mrs. Guan felt empowered to maintain her self-righteous and nonchalant attitude. Given Deputy Prefect Guan's comprehensive explanation, Xiao Yunduan found himself with little more to say. After Deputy Prefect concluded his statements, a cold silence enveloped the room, and the atmosphere turned increasingly oppressive. Mrs. Guan, sensing the need to break the silence, attempted to clear her throat, but found herself hesitating for some unknown reason. Even Deputy Prefect Guan, usually composed, felt an inexplicable unease. After a brief pause, Xiao Yunduan spoke icily. Since Deputy Prefect Guan has spoken, I will await your thorough investigation and your son's discipline. You need not attend the government office for the time being. Chapter 1672. Can't let them go easy. Deputy Prefect Guan and his wife were left stunned. Mrs. Guan was about to speak when Deputy Prefect Guan gave her a warning look. He then smiled and bowed sincerely, saying, Yes, yes. Lord is right. I will certainly follow your instructions. Lord, please rest assured. Xiao Yunduan nodded. You may leave now. Thank you, Lord. I apologize again for the disturbance. Deputy Prefect Guan bowed once more and exited the room with Mrs. Guan. As soon as they left, Xiao Yunduan rushed back to the bedroom. My lovey Euro, I'm fine. Qiao Xian smiled and gently squeezed Xiao Yunduan's hands. She reassured him, saying, Kai Wei and Li Xia protected me, and Guan Jialing is just a child. How much harm could he cause? I'm truly fine, don't worry. I just felt that we couldn't let them off so easily. We had to put on an act. Children could indeed be quite troublesome. Xiao Yunduan held her hands, feeling a sense of relief. I'm glad you're okay. Please be cautious in the coming days, and be even more vigilant in the futuro. Upon receiving Song's report, the blood in his veins seemed to freeze. In that moment, it felt as if his heart had stopped beating. He dared not contemplate what he would do if something had truly happened to his wife. Xiao Yunduan chose not to disclose Mrs. Guan's words to Qiao Xian, which only fueled her anger. After consoling Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan advised, I believe Mrs. Guan is an ignorant and self-centered individual. Keep your distance from her and those in the west courtyard. Qiao Xian nodded with a smile. I never intended to befriend Mrs. Guan. He will come tomorrow to offer an apology. If you prefer not to see him, you have every right to decline. Qiao Xian smiled. Certainly not. Xiao Yunduan grinned. Well, that man is a bit thoughtless and muddled. I hope you won't take offense. Qiao Xian chuckled. All right, I won't let it bother me. They continued their conversation for a while. Concerned about Qiao Xian's well-being, Xiao Yunduan eventually assisted her in lying down, tenderly kissed her, and then left. The reception banquet at the restaurant naturally came to an end. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Yunduan decided to suspend Deputy Prefect Guan, necessitating a visit to the government office. With a sneer, Xiao Yunduan was eager to see what kind of response would be elicited. Returning home, both Mrs. Guan and Deputy Prefect Guan appeared disgruntled. Mrs. Guan fumed. Lord Xiao is truly influential. He exploited the opportunity to suspend you, old master. Humph, it seems he's using this as an excuse to seek revenge. Deputy Prefect Guan, while also displeased, displayed a more composed demeanor. He replied indifferently, Don't make a fuss. He's the prefect. If he wants to suspend me, he'll find a reason. Besides, it's quite fortunate. I've been occupied all year, and now I can enjoy a break. A half-day of leisure is a rare blessing. I'm curious to see how Lord Xiao manages the entire government office. I've been in charge for so long. There's no part of the government untouched by my influence. A few instructions from me, and Lord Xiao won't be able to do much. He'll have no choice but to plead with me to return. He eagerly anticipated Xiao Yunduan coming to beg him to return. Upon hearing his words, Mrs. Guan's eyes sparkled with delight. She couldn't resist gloating and said with a smile, Excellent. Old master, that's a brilliant plan. Since Lord Xiao thinks he's clever, let him enjoy himself. Chapter 1673. Is it really not you? When he discovers he's been asked to shoot himself in the foot, he'll surely regret it. When he extends an invitation to you, old master, do not readily agree. Deputy Prefect Guan sneered. Certainly. Deputy Prefect Guan furrowed his brows once more and remarked, I haven't even addressed your involvement yet. How could you instruct Jiar to engage in such folly? Some matters can be handled discreetly, but not so openly. It benefits us nothing to clash with them, especially in front of numerous guests. Madame Xiao is expecting. If something were to happen, how can the couple refrain from seeking vengeance? What folly have you committed? Old master. Mrs. Guan panicked upon hearing this. I genuinely did not advise him on this. How could I be so thoughtless? You know my character, don't you? Regardless of my displeasure with Madame Xiao's conduct, I would never harm the child in her womb. I was just as shocked. Are you absolutely certain it wasn't you? Old master, why would I deceive you? You know the kind of person I am. Deputy Prefect Guan pondered the situation and concurred. It seemed implausible for his wife to act so foolishly. Did you perhaps say something to the maidservants that the child overheard? Leading to a euro, Mrs. Guan was left speechless. Well, a euro, this was not beyond the realm of possibility. Her heart ached for her son. Given the chance, he would always remain by her side. Since he was still young, she and the maidservants naturally didn't purposefully exclude him. If her son happened to recall that conversation, it could prove problematic. Mrs. Guan felt both troubled and relieved. The trouble lay in this incident, while the solace stemmed from her son's deep affection for her. Indeed, he was the son she cherished the most. Observing her distress, Deputy Prefect Guan formed a rough understanding. He advised, Jiao is gradually maturing. You must exercise more caution in the future. Some things shouldn't be discussed in his presence. He has a sharp memory, but he may not fully comprehend. It wouldn't bode well if he inadvertently revealed something outside. Mrs. Guan's heart skipped a beat, and she was taken aback. She hastily agreed. Certainly, some matters were not meant for outsiders. Euro. This issue is straightforward. Bring Jiao here and inquire with him. Mrs. Guan stated. Jiao was also frightened today. Old master, you should question him carefully later. Patience is key. Scolding him won't help. I understand what needs to be done. Hurry and summon him. Mrs. Guan issued the command, and her maid Junju went to fetch him. Soon Guan Jialing, the nanny, and the two little girls were summoned. Mrs. Guan had always been wary of the nanny, fearing she might influence her son against her. Hence, the Guan family's nanny held a lower status compared to others. She appeared particularly tense in Mrs. Guan's presence. Realizing today's matter wouldn't be easily resolved, the three of them were already uneasy. Upon entering, they promptly knelt down. Guan Jialing remained unperturbed. Spotting his mother, he joyfully called out and rushed over. Mrs. Guan embraced him and greeted with a smile. My darling. Mother and son shared an affectionate moment. Deputy Prefect Guan cleared his throat. Concerned about frightening her son, Mrs. Guan handled the situation herself. She spoke gently to Guan Jialing. Jiao, be good. I have a few questions for you. Answer obediently, and I'll have the kitchen prepare your favorite dishes tonight. Sound good? Guan Jialing blinked. I want fried fish. And Huxiang Restaurant's crispy treats. Alright. Chapter 1674. Mrs. Guan agreed with a tender smile and inquired. Jiao, why did you come here today? Accusing Madame Qiao of mistreating me? Or did you hear that? What exactly did you hear? Please tell me. Guan Jialing pressed his lips together and blurted out. That's right. I overheard two girls talking. I got really angry, so I rushed over to help Mother vent her frustration. The couple was taken aback and simultaneously questioned. What did they say? Guan Jialing was indignant, tightly pursing his lips. They said Madame Qiao is mean and wicked. She used foul language and even plotted to have someone hit Mother and snatch her money. She even wanted to take me away and make me her slave. She planned to drive our family out and forbid us from living in the backyard of the state government office. She's so awful. So awful. Mother, I don't like her at all. Tell Father to kick their family out. Alright. Jiao, did you really hear all of this? Yes. Mrs. Guan gazed at her son and felt a bit weary, but she also trusted that he wouldn't deceive her. If he said so, it must be true. Comforting her son, Mrs. Guan instructed Junju and Jade to take him downstairs for some snacks. Guan Jialing, still holding on to his earlier request, insisted. I want deep-fried fish and crispy snacks tonight. Alright. Mother will instruct the kitchen to prepare deep-fried fish, and I'll have someone fetch your snacks. Only after her son happily followed the two girls did Mrs. Guan turn her attention to the nanny and scolded. Are you deaf? Why didn't you come to me when you overheard such absurdities being uttered in front of the young master? Deputy Prefect Guan also frowned, his gaze stern. It was evident that someone sought to sow discord, deliberately stirring up trouble with ill intentions. The nanny's face paled with fear at the gravity of the accusation. The prospect of being blamed for such a serious matter terrified her. Madam, I swear I'm innocent. I had no idea. Young master is so lively and active. Sometimes I may lose sight of him momentarily. I promptly search for him. While I did find him quickly, there was a brief period when I wasn't with young master. Perhaps someone exploited that to me. The nanny quickly confessed, pleading for mercy. It's entirely my fault. I shouldn't have been careless. I'll learn from this mistake and be more vigilant in the future. Please, madam, show mercy. The two little girls were also frightened and joined in begging for forgiveness. Mrs. Guan sneered. Do you realize the trouble your negligence has caused me? Offering apologies won't absolve you of responsibility. I won't dare. Mrs. Guan expressed her frustration, swearing. Who is behind this? How dare they manipulate my son like this? I'll find out and deal with them severely. Mrs. Guan questioned the nanny and the maidservants about anyone suspicious. Deputy Prefect Guan pondered before stating, Madam, I suspect it wasn't our servants. Who would dare use Jiar like this? Our servants wouldn't risk it. Besides, Jiar is still a Childeyuro, impulsive and unable to restrain himself. He likely overheard the maidservant's conversation and jumped to conclusions. Ask him if he heard it today. Mrs. Guan snapped back to reality and hastily instructed Nanny Ding to inquire. Nanny Ding returned promptly, nodding. Old master, madam. Young master did indeed hear it today. Upon hearing it, he rushed toward the banquet guest Sayuro. Chapter 1675. We can only acknowledge this matter. Deputy Prefect Guan's tone turned cold. Madam, it seems that our Jiar has been manipulated as a pawn. I suspect it might be a servant girl of one of the guests who deliberately spread these rumors. Finding any evidence might prove challenging. Mrs. Guan clenched her teeth, acknowledging that her husband's assessment likely held truth. With a limited number of servants at home, and most of them assisting with the event, it seemed implausible that one of them had orchestrated such a scheme. Her own maidservant, in particular, lacked the cunning to exploit her son for trouble. Considering the guests, Mrs. Guan faced a dead end. Investigations appeared futile. After lunch, numerous madams, ladies, and maidservants strolled through the courtyard, making it practically impossible to identify a potential culprit. Lord Qiao and Madame Qiao have managed to make enemies in just a few days. Observing his wife jesting at Xiao Yunduan and his wife, Deputy Prefect Guan frowned. We have no choice but to accept it. He shot a cold gaze at the nanny and the two little girls. Be cautious with your words. Utter nothing inappropriate. Otherwise, humph. The nanny and the two girls nodded vigorously, expressing their agreement while desperately avoiding any wrong moves. As they conversed, a maid entered, reporting that Miss Qiao from Madame Xiao's household had arrived. The couple exchanged glances, and Mrs. Guan sneered. You sent her over so quickly? Afraid I won't offer an apology. Call her in. Qiao entered and greeted them. Mrs. Guan gave a half-smile. Miss Qiao, what brings you here? Qiao spoke. Mrs. Guan, our madam sent me to request some ointment for swelling and pain. The young master in our madam's family is quite strong. The bruise on Kaiya's leg, about the size of a palm, is red and swollen. It's painful to the touch. Our madam forgot to prepare the medicine, so she thought of asking Mrs. Guan first. If you don't have any, we'll need to summon a doctor. Both Mrs. Guan and Deputy Prefect Guan's eyelids twitched. A doctor? If a doctor were to be involved, who knew what information might be revealed? Mrs. Guan understood that Qiao had come to mock and humiliate her, but she had no choice but to suppress her anger and respond with a forced smile. There's some ointment. Nanny Ding, fetch it. Jiar was thoughtless and caused Miss Kaiwa distress. Consider this ointment an apology. Miss Kaiwa, please don't take it to heart. She couldn't bring herself to apologize to Qiao Xian, let alone a mere maid like Kaiwa. Had it not been for Qiao Xian sending someone, her son wouldn't have mistreated a maid at all. But that was it. Apologize to a maidservant? It was out of the question. Qiao understood that Mrs. Guan wouldn't apologize. Accepting the ointment, she smiled and added, My madam has more to convey to Mrs. Guan. Her servant will deliver the message. No need for any intermediaries. If there are any more injuries, she won't let it slide so easily. Qiao gave a pointed look at the stunned Mrs. Guan and departed. Mrs. Guan seethed. How dare she? She's just a lowly maid. What does she mean by all this? Making a fuss over a mere maid. Deputy Prefect Guan also harbored a sense of disgust and remarked, Exercise restraint with our people in the future. After all, we're not the sole residents behind this county office. Bah. Chapter 1676. Compensation. The following day, Mrs. Guan arranged a substantial gift and sent the nanny and the two girls to visit Qiao Xian, intending to offer an apology. The explanation crafted was, naturally, centered around the nanny and the two maidservants failing to adequately care for their young master. The maids, given to gossip, uttered a few inappropriate words about their master. Mrs. Guan's son, feeling neglected during her guests' entertainment, became displeased, and that led to the regrettable incident. I sincerely apologize, Madame Qiao. Mrs. Guan expressed remorse and handed over the nanny and the 2 maids to Qiao Xian, instructing her to deal with them as she saw fit. Qiao Xian found herself disgusted once again. Handing them over to her for punishment? They are your servants, Mrs. Guan. I have no authority over them. You may administer the punishment yourself. Mrs. Guan didn't want to complicate matters for Qiao Xian, so she smiled and replied, I offer a genuine apology, Madame Qiao. The servants have indeed erred, and they should face consequences. Rest assured, Madame Qiao. Qiao Xian inquired. What do you propose, Mrs. Guan? Mrs. Guan felt the urge to curse. As you wish, Madame Qiao. Qiao Xian suggested. If that's the case, let's proceed. Take the young master outside and administer a public flogging, so everyone can witness the consequences of negligence. Li Qiao, inform our staff to pay close attention. While observing the punishment was one aspect, it was crucial to convey that Mrs. Guan had ordered the flogging. Li Qiao agreed and hurriedly left. The nanny and the 2 girls continued pleading for mercy, but they were swiftly escorted away. Mrs. Guan felt irritated. Qiao Xian was the one who mentioned flogging, so why was she now saying it was Mrs. Guan's idea? When did she say such a thing? For such a trivial matter, Madame Qiao had taken it too far. Mrs. Guan had anticipated that Qiao Xian might teach the nanny and the 2 girls a lesson, but she never expected her to resort to flogging. Yet, Qiao Xian had made her stance unequivocal, leaving no room for changes even if she desired to backtrack. Unhappy with the situation, Mrs. Guan aimed to reciprocate and said, I should inform Madame Qiao of one thing. Jiar mentioned overhearing 2 maids gossiping in the garden yesterday, and it angered him. The maids were hidden by the flower shade, and he couldn't identify them. Curiously, the nanny and the maids were absent at the time. I suspect they might not be our maids. I wonder which lady they might be attending the banquet with. Of course, it's just a speculation. I'm merely mentioning it casually, Madame Qiao. You can simply disregard it. Seeing Qiao Xian's surprised expression, Mrs. Guan felt satisfied and left. Once she departed, Li Qiao couldn't contain herself. Your words are preposterous. We've only been in An's province for a short time. How could something like this happen? You must be evading responsibility and spreading baseless accusations to create trouble for our madam, with no known adversaries who would commit such a malicious act. Qiao Xian blinked and chuckled. Actually, I believe she's not lying. Li Qiao was taken aback. But how can there be such a persona? Qiao Xian smiled. Not everyone would engage in such actions. Sometimes it's merely a fleeting thought. After all, many harbor resentment when Lord is present, seizing every opportunity to stir up trouble. From now on, pay attention to everything. Understood, madam. Chapter 1677. That makes sense. When Xiao Yunduan returned and Qiao Xian briefed him, he wore a look of realization and commented, I found it strange yesterday, so it all adds up now. Qiao Xian smiled. I didn't dwell on it much, but Mrs. Guan's words provided some clarity. Certainly, no matter how foolish and impulsive Mrs. Guan might be, her actions didn't align with her usual behavior. She was fortunate and in good health, so everything turned out fine. However, if things had taken a turn for the worst, it could have resulted in a blatant murder. No one would believe it had nothing to do with Mrs. Guan. The consequences would undoubtedly be severe, possibly leading to the death penalty for the couple. Was there any reason for her to hastily escalate the situation into an irreparable conflict? The reception banquet, hosted by her abbot, would never have allowed her son to engage in such behavior. Without her guidance, the servants and nanny wouldn't dare act independently. Mrs. Guan wasn't the type to tolerate a servant bullying her master and acting without restraint. However, children couldn't always control their emotions. When angered, they tended to act impulsively, disregarding consequences. It was conceivable that certain guests aimed to instigate a conflict between the local powerful figure, DeputyPrefect Guan, and the newly arrived Lord Qiao, who had recently reached his peak. The culprits remained a mystery to Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. This couldn't be helped. Their time in An's province had been brief, and this marked their first official interaction with these influential clans. Beyond this incident, there had been no other interactions, making it challenging to discern how they had unknowingly offended someone. No matter what, this serves as a lesson for us, Xiao Yunduan remarked in a serious tone. The wealthy families and local powers here are bolder and more audacious than we initially thought. My wife, exercise greater caution in the future. Avoid unnecessary outings. Xiao Yunduan understood that his wife wasn't someone who would confine herself to the mansion forever. He embraced her and planted a gentle kiss on her forehead. With a tinge of guilt, he softly said, "Be careful. Things will get better after the child is born." I'm genuinely worried now. While the backyard of the state government office was somewhat manageable, venturing outside posed uncertainties. Xiao Yunduan couldn't afford to take any risks, especially with a pregnant wife. Whether it was physical harm or merely fright, it was a significant concern. Unable to disclose her superpower to Xiao Yunduan, Qiao Xian nodded and smiled. I understand. I'll be cautious and won't venture out unless absolutely necessary. I'll inform you whenever I need to go out. Recognizing his wife's reliability, Xiao Yunduan reassured her. I'll accompany you whenever you go out. Call Yi, Sunbai, and the others. Qiao Xian responded with a smile. However, she recalled that Mrs. Guan had initially shared this information to taunt and complicate matters for them. She intended for Xiao Yunduan to witness the challenges he faced in this place. Little did she know that it turned out to be quite the opposite. Had Qiao Xian known, she might have found it infuriating. Unbeknownst to her, it was Fan Ruyan who orchestrated the scheme. Displeased by the lack of respect she felt she deserved, Fan Ruyan perceived Madame Xiao as arrogantly indifferent, even toward the Fan familia, one of the three prominent families. Seizing an opportunity, Fan Ruyan, seated casually, nonchalantly strolled through the garden with her two maidservants. Upon spotting the young master of the Guan family alone, she seized the moment and instructed her maidservants to approach him. Chapter 1678. Complaint. Fan Ruyan impulsively acted without any intention to harm Qiao Xian. Her motive was rooted in personal dissatisfaction. Given the opportune moment, she decided to capitalize on it. The eventual outcome held little importance for her. She was content as long as it brought her satisfaction. Even if she failed to achieve her intended goal, it didn't bother her. After all, there was no loss on her part. With the numerous guests present, it was practically impossible to pinpoint her involvement. Moreover, considering the strained relationship between Mrs. Guan and the new Madame Xiao, it was evident to anyone that even Madame Xiao herself wouldn't suspect any wrongdoing in her son's actions. As for Mrs. Guan, would she be able to discern the truth? As a prominent figure among the three great families, Fan Ruyan had always carried herself with pride. In An's province, no one dared to challenge her status. Old Lady Fan inquired about the reception banquet and the well-being of the prefect's new wife. Before the two sisters-in-law could share their thoughts, Fan Ruyan interjected. Madame Xiao is exceedingly arrogant and dismissive. I greeted her with a smile, but she responded perfunctorily and showed no interest in acknowledging me at Alayuro. Aren't all the officials' wives like this? They are truly vexatious. Why don't you take a closer look at this place? Let them revel in their arrogance. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan exchanged glances, both rendered speechless and bewildered. Regardless, they couldn't recall any instance of Madame Xiao disregarding their sister-in-law. It puzzled them, but they assumed it stemmed from their sister-in-law not actively seeking her favor. To Fan Ruyan, this absence of overt flattery appeared as arrogance and neglect. Internally sneering, neither of them had any inclination to speak up for Qiao Xian. It seemed a trivial matter, and their mother-in-law consistently protected her. Speaking out might only invite scolding without any substantial benefit. Old Lady Fan expressed her displeasure, furrowing her brows as she remarked, I heard that Lord Xiao was the previous primus. He is so young, so his wife must be young too. Young people should be proud. She doesn't give face to the Fan family in An's province. Humph, she thinks too highly of herself. Fan Ruyan sneered in agreement. You're absolutely right. Let's wait and see how long Lord Xiao can maintain his position here. Meanwhile, Qiao Xian attended to her duties in the mansion while caring for the baby, But she didn't halt Songshi and Mianmian from their work. Zheng Sang returned from Yuzhong province, bringing Yue Xiao's response. Yue Xiao straightforwardly agreed to provide the seed as requested by Qiao Xian. He would also handle obtaining the seeds of King Solomon's seal, crowdipper, angelica, and honeysuckle. Both Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan felt relieved. Their long-standing friendship with Yue Xiao had proven valuable. Qiao Xian planned to promote the cultivation of potatoes, herbs, peppers, star anise, and other cash crops in the mountainous region. While she had a preference for more expensive herbs like false starworts and Gastrodia elata, it was too conspicuous to cultivate them before establishing a stable foundation. Opting for King Solomon's seal, crowdipper, and similar crops was a strategic move. Though not as lucrative as the high-end herbs, they still held significant value, and Qiao Xian intended to gradually expand and develop in the future. Chapter 1679. Plant regarding peppers and aniseed. Qiao Xian had discovered wild varieties in the nearby woods during her land visit with Xiao Yunduan. They appeared to be of good quality. During that moment, a realization struck her. Why else would she purchase 50,000 mu of farmland in one go? Confident in her superpower, she harbored no concerns about the growth of herbs, peppers, star anise, and the like. Post-harvest, she planned to dry them and secure a buyer. Even with limited mountain transportation, she remained unfazed. While she had contemplated planting lychees, longan mangoes, dragon fruits, and more, she ultimately abandoned the idea. These tropical fruit trees weren't suitable for this location, but she intended to revisit the notion in 2 years. Given the proximity to Yuzhong province, transportation of these fruits would be relatively straightforward. With her crop choices determined, it was time to embark on exploration. Time was of the essence, but Qiao Xian was prepared to invest. 1,000 mu of prepped land was ready for medicinal herb cultivation. The adjacent 3,000 mu of wasteland, while slightly flatter than the mountainous terrain, presented its own challenges. Overgrown bushes and thorny stems posed obstacles, requiring extensive effort to clear the land. As for the mountainous areas, Qiao Xian had already identified the purchase plots, predominantly covered in weeds with fewer trees. Despite the selected areas having less dense foliage, the task of clearing remained substantial. With spring plowing approaching, the window for sowing seeds was imminent. Farmers would soon be engrossed in their busiest season, making labor more expensive for hiring land pioneers. Furthermore, time was of the essence. The cultivation of herbs, potatoes, peppers, and star anise needed to commence before mid-May. Qiao Xian's instructions to Songshi and Mianmian instilled a sense of urgency among everyone. Songshi sought employment in the city, securing a job that paid 35 won per day, inclusive of lunch. This role was considered relatively superior, attracting many applicants. However, acquiring tools like hoes, sickles, hatchets, axes, and other implements for land cultivation proved challenging. Iron farming tools were not cheap, and households in the countryside often lacked complete sets, let alone city dwellers with limited access to land. Unfortunately, wasteland reclamation necessitated iron tools. Regrettably, Songshi had to abandon his efforts due to the unavailability of these tools. Despite blacksmith shops in the city, iron farming tools were not readily accessible. Purchasing them posed difficulties as the supply was limited, with only around 40 various tools available. In the end, only 80 people were hired, and only half of them were able to bring their own farming tools. Handling the mountainous terrain, Songshi led a few individuals to oversee the work. Meanwhile, on the flat ground, Liu Fu, Mo Li, and others took charge. Qiao Xian provided reminders to organize and distribute the workload efficiently. They decided not to take the firewood generated during land reclamation daily, fearing disputes over who took more or less. Instead, they accumulated it, intending to distribute it evenly among the workers at a later date. This precaution aimed to avoid unnecessary conflicts and maintain smooth progress. Though a seemingly small benefit, it could potentially spark disputes if not managed carefully. Chapter 1680. Exploration in the contemporary era. Firewood remained a vital resource for boiling water and cooking. The Wasteland Reclamation Project produced a substantial amount of firewood, sufficient for their families to use for 2 to 3 months. Deciding to distribute it equally at the end of the project seemed like a practical approach. City workers accustomed to short-term jobs might not be adept at reclamation work. Songshi, well versed in the process, took the time to explain to Lu Qian, Liu Fu, and others the importance of overseeing the hired workers, cautioning them against injuries. Additionally, they needed to ensure that workers dug out all underground routes during reclamation, preventing potential issues with wild grass and bushes growing in the future. Motivated and in high spirits, Liu Fu, with Lu Qian accompanying him, took charge of controlling the 40 hired workers. Taking advantage of favorable weather, they swiftly initiated the project. Initially, they focused on cutting down trees, shrubs, and grass, piling them together for later use. After preparing the firewood, they segregated it. The remaining unwanted materials, such as grass, leaves, and miscellaneous items, were set ablaze. With the ground cleared, they proceeded to dig and clean up roots and grass. Given the workers' lack of farming experience, the initial days were marked by chaos and numerous issues. Fortunately, the employees, enticed by the generous salary, were willing to learn and adapt. Collaborating with Songshi and Liu Fu, Qiao drew a map, designating an area for building a courtyard. The envisioned courtyard would include spaces for a farming room, warehouse, fruit drying area, fruit processing workshop, duty dormitory, and a small kitchen. Each space was to encompass around 3 mu of empty land. Furthermore, since the two locations were approximately 7 to 8 miles apart, Qiao instructed Songshi to assess the terrain. After the cultivation was complete, she planned to construct a better road to connect the two areas. Songshi and Liu Fu duly took note of the directive. On another front, Qiao tasked Sun Bai and Sun Qian with inquiring about peppers and star anise trees. She aimed to procure according to the demand for 10,000 mu each, acknowledging that obtaining such quantities might prove challenging. Since Yuzhong lacked these crops, she had to search for them in An's province. While cultivating them initially might pose a challenge, Qiao speculated that once she found the saplings, she could potentially propagate them using branches in her space, allowing for an expansion in numbers. In the span of 7 to 8 days, Qiao recovery period concluded. In her idle moments, she strolled through the garden, observing it nonchalantly. Since the last incident involving the young master, Mrs. Guan seemed to have learned her lesson, as Qiao no longer encountered him in the garden. After a brief reflection, Qiao asked Li Xia and Li Qiao, "I've been recuperating for the past few days, so it seems appropriate for each family to pay a visit, right?" Understanding the significance of basic social interactions as the wife of the prefect, Qiao, being cautious about her health, intended to visit the affluent families. Even if she couldn't personally attend, she planned to send high-ranking maids and servants to extend her regards with invitations. Chapter 1681. None came, however. Qiao had been preoccupied with her exploration plans, causing her to overlook the absence of visitors for the past few days. Li Xia and Li Qiao chuckled at her realization. "Madam, you've just noticed this now. Those people aren't worth worrying about, madam. Don't let it bother you." "Exactly." Qiao joined in the laughter, acknowledging her lack of popularity among certain circles. "It appears I'm not winning any popularity contests. Their families are quite organized. Ask Sun Bai to find out what's going on. I don't mind if they come or not, but I'd like to know the reason behind their organized actions." Li Xiao agreed and promptly conveyed the message to Sun Bai. While Qiao had momentarily forgotten about the issue, Xiao Yunduan had not. He had instructed Sun Bai to investigate the matter 2 days earlier. However, he chose not to mention it to Qiao, hoping she would forget about it. Upon hearing Lixia's report, Qiao quickly received the results. According to Sun Bai's findings, Old Lady Fan had taken the initiative to inform the Hua family and the Mei family. She subtly suggested that they distance themselves from the new prefect, fearing the couple might not take them seriously. The Mei family and the Hua family, being local powerhouses, resisted any changes in An's province. They were displeased with Xiao Yunduan's arrival and had initially aimed to promote Deputy Prefect Guan to the position of prefect. After all, Deputy Prefect Guan had been in An's province for many years, fostering relationships with the locals. Choosing a familiar face seemed more favorable to them. In the preceding years, the imperial court had rotated prefects in An's prefecture with remarkable frequency, resembling a constant turnover of personnel, revolving doors, and a game of musical chairs. The local families were growing impatient with the persistent changes. Adapting to a new prefect repeatedly was undesirable for everyone. Moreover, An's province's unique geographical location, and the composition of its personnel, made it challenging for any prominent family to establish and develop here without engaging in some questionable dealings. This complexity further fueled the discontent. Initially, Deputy Prefect Guan saw some progress in his aspirations. With more effort, he anticipated success. However, the imperial court abruptly altered its decision, appointing this new primus. This sudden turn of events not only shattered Deputy Prefect Guan's aspirations, but also left the major families profoundly disinterested. Given the circumstances, their animosity toward Xiao Yunduan deepened. Now, with Old Lady Fan suggesting that they ignore Madame Xiao and assess Lord Xiao, everyone readily agreed. After all, testing him couldn't hurt. Lord Xiao wouldn't take drastic measures over such a trivial matter, right? Moreover, since the Fan family held a prominent position, it was necessary to show respect to Old Lady Fan. The reason behind Old Lady Fan's actions didn't surprise them. She had always been proud and capricious. Even if no one had offended her, simply disliking someone was enough reason for her to launch an attack. If the new Lord Xiao was disliked by Old Lady Fan, she would intensify her aversion. The other family clans typically followed the intentions of the three heads. If the three heads didn't act, the other families refrained from doing so as well. This was why Qiao Xian found herself so unpopular. For days, no one came to visit. Qiao Xian's decision to hire people for land exploration only fueled the family's displeasure. Were they truly going to settle here? Chapter 1682. If not the Fan family, it would be someone else. During the process of wasteland reclamation, numerous individuals casually passed by and expressed their curiosity. However, the hired workers, unaware of Qiao Xian's plans for planting on the reclaimed land, were questioned by some of the onlookers, including Songshi, Liu Fu, and others. Following Qiao Xian's instructions, the workers refrained from revealing any details to the inquisitive onlookers, intensifying their curiosity even more. The sight of so much wasteland being opened simultaneously sparked speculation. What could possibly be planted on such a large scale? Aside from corn and soybeans, the options seemed limited in such mountainous terrain. Did the prefect and his wife lack knowledge about the low productivity of such arid land? Were they anticipating a substantial profit from this meager harvest? Many onlookers believed the prefect and his wife were ignorant and ill-informed about the challenges of the region. Suggestions were made about investing the money elsewhere, perhaps in purchasing a shop. The high salary offered for a temporary job, along with seemingly extravagant provisions like steamed buns and bone and vegetable soup for lunch, were deemed wasteful. Countless pairs of eyes observed the proceedings, eager to witness the outcome. When Qiao Xian received the news from Sunbai, she was initially perplexed. Had she offended the Fan family? Was the Fan family adamantly against her? Upon reflection, she acknowledged that there was likely no family clan exempt from apprehension about confronting them. If not the Fan family, another family would undoubtedly step forward. This situation felt like a deliberate test. Recalling Mrs. Guan's proud demeanor when they crossed paths in the garden 2 days ago, Qiao Xian suddenly grasped the situation. Mrs. Guan had likely spread some unfavorable information about her, contributing to the current scenario. She was openly mocking Qiao Xian for being ostracized and targeted. Qiao Xian shook her head, dismissing the mocking remarks. She had no time to concern herself with such trivialities. Instead, she focused on managing her own land. Testing her was of little importance to her in the grand scheme. In the meantime, Xiao Yunduan had advised Deputy Prefect not to work and to discipline his son, intending to address the trouble caused in the office the next day. The high-ranking staff in the state office were supposed to be assigned to the 6 intermediate departments. Each room had a designated person in charge, known as the Sutra Inheritor, overseeing clerks, scribes, and other staff. Typically, each room had several clerks, and there were varying numbers based on the actual needs, but it generally did not exceed 20. In addition to these 6 branches, the core offices of the prefecture below the deputy prefect, there were other roles such as those overseeing finances, education, prisons, and warehouses. More than 10 leaders handled these responsibilities, along with bailiffs, constables, gatekeepers, coroners, and various servants. For a prefecture office to function normally, a considerable number of people were required. Given An's province's larger territory due to its geographical location, it necessitated a sizable administrative staff. Deputy Prefect Guan's long-standing tenure added a layer of complexity to the relationships within the office. It appeared that Deputy Prefect Guan sought to assert control over Xiao Yunduan, the prefect, in an attempt to find a pretext for Xiao Yunduan to grant him a break. Consequently, Deputy Prefect Guan audaciously disrupted the proper functioning of the entire government office. Chapter 1683. Countless people waited to see Xiao Yunduan after Deputy Prefect Guan took a break. More than half of the officials scheduled to work that day applied for leave, with even the bailiffs making only sporadic appearances. Despite the disruption, 3 groups of people showed up to file lawsuits on the same day. Before heading to court for the trial, Xiao Yunduan had someone leave the necessary documents for him to review. These individuals had all been influenced by Deputy Prefect Guan's bribes, making them reluctant to simply leave without causing a commotion. However, Xiao Yunduan, being the prefect, was not bound by any rule that mandated immediate interrogation upon receiving legal documents, even with a promotion looming in the next 10 days or half a month. Exceptions were only made for murder cases or large-scale armed conflicts resulting in significant casualties. Deputy Prefect Guan, audacious as he might be, wouldn't dare to entangle himself in a murder case, knowing it would jeopardize his position. Xiao Yunduan had a steadfast stance, and any attempt to create a disturbance would result in public punishment. This impasse led to a temporary halt in the case trial, much to the disdain of Deputy Prefect Guan. Xiao Yunduan's resolute demeanor frustrated him, but there was little he could do. Despite An's province's unique circumstances, the absence of numerous officials from the office would inevitably take its toll. Deputy Prefect Guan smirked, realizing that Xiao Yunduan's authority as Lord Prefect might not hold much sway in An's prefecture. The title seemed less influential than he had initially thought. Countless onlookers eagerly anticipated Xiao Yunduan's next move. However, Xiao Yunduan remained unfazed by the scrutiny. His primary concern was the upcoming spring plowing, and having made all necessary preparations, he was unperturbed by the surrounding chaos. The imperial court had always maintained a laissez-faire attitude towards An's province. Merely finding officials willing to serve in this remote region was considered a commendable feat. As long as there was no rebellion causing widespread loss of life, the court viewed everything else as trivial. Xiao Yunduan aimed to restructure the constables and third-class officers in one sweeping move. Scribes, albeit important, were replaceable. Despite the limited scholarly presence in An's province, finding substitutes for resigning scribes was feasible, even though it might initially lead to a manpower shortage and increased workload. His primary concern, however, rested on the bailiffs and constabliciero, the armed forces he could directly control. It was crucial that they remained under his influence, staffed by individuals loyal to him. Notably, Zheng Sang Wu Guan, Yang Mu, Sun Bai Sun Qian, and others were already part of his trusted circle. With this strategy in mind, Xiao Yunduan promptly signed the necessary documents and directed the bailiffs to deliver them to those currently on leave. He mandated their return to duty the following day, emphasizing that if anyone needed to reapply for leave, they must do so in person. By avoiding such responsibility, an official risked open disrespect towards his superior, making him unsuitable for the state office. In such cases, the prefect would display mercy by providing an additional 2 months' salary, urging the individual to promptly leave. Deputy Prefect Guan was well aware of these developments and couldn't help but sneer. Lord Xiao's actions were intriguing to Euro. He bypassed the scribes and directed his frustration towards the bailiffs. Perhaps he understood that the scribes wouldn't easily yield to his demands. Chapter 1684. Whoever believes is silly. Did he believe that by channeling his frustration towards a few bailiffs and setting an example, the scribes would cower in fear? What a ludicrous notion euro. Despite Deputy Prefect Guan's efforts, none of the bailiffs left. Each one had their document. However, the situation was not taken seriously. After a round of discussions, Deputy Prefect Guan's trusted aide received instructions and confidently assured that there wouldn't be any issues. The Lord of Prefect wouldn't dare to dismiss all 70 of them simultaneously. The idea of firing them all raised practical concerns. How many essential positions in the government office would be left vacant? Even Constable Ding and Constable Yu were unable to attend. What was there to fear? Convinced by Deputy Prefect Guan's assurances, the bailiffs and constables believed the prefect's threat held no real weight. No prefect could maintain a lengthy tenure in An's province. And if Deputy Prefect Guan had something to say, it had to be heeded. Lord Qiao had claimed he would stay for an extended period. But such declarations were met with skepticism. Few believed him. The next day, not a single bailiff reported for duty, rendering Xiao Yenduan's documents a laughingstock. Upon learning of this outcome, Deputy Prefect Guan was nearly overcome with laughter. Lord Qiao, in his youthful naivety, failed to comprehend the dynamics of this jurisdiction. Xiao Yunduan was taken aback by the results, realizing that the situation was even more dire than he had anticipated. However, he acknowledged that such a worst-case scenario had crossed his mind before. Xiao Yunduan didn't mince words, addressing everyone absent that day, including the 2 constables. On the same day, a notice was prominently displayed at the government office entrance and several city gates, announcing the recruitment of bailiffs. The news took everyone by surprise. Was Lord Qiao truly unyielding? Did he comprehend the potential fallout from this decision? Deputy Prefect Guan, shocked and angered, berated Xiao Yunduan privately before attempting to dissuade him. He carefully explained the repercussions and advised against impulsivity. Xiao Yunduan listened in silence before posing a question. Deputy Prefect Guan, are you suggesting that, as the Lord of Prefect, I should bow to the first-class bailiffs, or go back on my word? How would I then command the respect to be a leader? Deputy Prefect Guan felt a twinge of irritation, but sneered slightly. Lord, firing more than half of the bailiffs at once might disrupt the government office's functioning. If something untoward happens, Xiao Yunduan responded sternly, we are already in the process of recruiting replacements. It's a few days of hard work. What harm can it do? Unless someone is scheming in the shadows. He continued with a cold tone. If anyone dares to undermine this effort, let them try. I won't let them off easily if I find out. Furious, Deputy Prefect Guan sensed an implied threat but restrained his anger. He cautioned, Lord Qiao, you must tread carefully. Firing so many people at once could lead to trouble. People won't easily accept losing their jobs abruptly. They may seek justice. Justice? Xiao Yunduan scoffed. Deputy Prefect, are you jesting? I provided them with documents, their signatures are on these documents, and the papers are still in my possession. I offered them a chance, yet they scorned me, showed disrespect, and now talk of justice. Chapter 1685. Reject. Deputy Prefect Guan remarked, you can't overlook this. Being young and unfamiliar with local governance, you might not realize the unique dynamics of officials here compared to those in the capital. Lord, officials in this region heavily rely on the lower-ranking officers to execute tasks. If you proceed without proper explanation, won't it disillusion everyone? In the future, it might pose significant challenges. Lord, it's wise to reconsider your decision. Xiao Yunduan sneered, questioning. Deputy Prefect, are you offering advice or issuing a threat? Deputy Prefect Guan chuckled. It's advice out of goodwill, of course. After all, I'm your assistant. If there's anything you're uncertain about, it's my duty to remind you. That's how collaboration works. Thank you for your well-intentioned advice, Deputy Prefect Guan. Xiao Yunduan replied with a half-smile. I won't yield to subordinates with malicious intent who defy my orders. They have chosen their path, and they must face the consequences. If anyone dares to cause trouble, let them try. Deputy Prefect Guan's expression soured. Suppressing his anger, he forced a smile. Since you've made up your mind, I have nothing more to say. Xiao Yunduan nodded. You may leave. Holding back his frustration, Deputy Prefect Guan respectfully cupped his hands and exited, his face dark with displeasure. Xiao Yunduan issued an announcement, directing late officers to take over the responsibilities. Those arriving within 2 days would receive 2 months' salary, while those delayed beyond that period would forfeit the bonus. Simultaneously, recruitment notices were posted throughout the process. Xiao Yunduan expanded the team by including Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Zheng Sang, Wu Guan, Yang Mu, and 7 or 8 of Sun Bai and Sun Qian's subordinates. Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and Zheng Sang were designated as constables, and Hang Xingshan, a constable, received a promotion. The 4 of them assumed leadership roles, each bringing a few constables to carry out the tasks assigned. It seemed like they had stirred up a hornet's nest this time. Not only were the bailiffs below agitated, but Constable Ding and Constable Yu were also visibly concerned. Some sneaked around, while others made no attempt to conceal their unease, rushing to the back of the government office to seek Deputy Prefect Guan for guidance. Deputy Prefect Guan felt overwhelmed, his thoughts in disarray, exhausted from managing the situation. He hadn't anticipated Xiao Yunduan's swift actions, leaving no room for maneuvering. However, he remained skeptical that Xiao Yunduan would actually terminate so many positions. Don't be hasty. Go back and wait patiently. This Lord Prefect is bluffing. Just observe. He won't endure for long. Don't fret, I won't abandon you. The law doesn't punish the masses. Don't bow your heads now. Otherwise, all your efforts will be in vain. Let's give it 2 more days. Just these 2 days. Recruit? If he can't find anyone, who else can he employ? Isn't it simple? You've served as bailiffs for so long. Don't you know if the office can attract recruits? The words of Deputy Prefect Guan provided a sudden realization to everyone. With sneers and newfound confidence, they departed. Indeed, Deputy Prefect Guan's assurance instilled confidence. It seemed implausible that he would deceive such a large group. In truth, many were beginning to regret their involvement secretly. Not all of these troublemakers were Deputy Prefect Guan's trusted aides. Bribing individuals to be confidants required considerable effort and money, and these bailiffs were not in a position to demand such resources. Chapter 1686. Ask Deputy Prefect Guan. Constable Ding and Constable Yu were considered Deputy Prefect Guan's trusted aides, along with a few other individuals who displayed notable competence. The remaining bailiffs, skeptical of Lord Xiao's commitment to a lengthy tenure in the region, anticipated working under Deputy Prefect Guan in the future, leading them to naturally align with him. However, it wouldn't be accurate to claim they were truly loyal or shared a common adversary with Deputy Prefect Guan. To their surprise, Lord Xiao appeared genuinely committed to the changes. While the job's salary wasn't exceptionally generous, it wasn't meager either. Additionally, being associated with a public office brought social recognition, enhancing one's prestige in the community. The abrupt loss of this opportunity was disheartening, leaving them in a state of anxiety. In their desperation, other concerns took a back seat. Their immediate focus was finding Deputy Prefect Guan and seeking an explanation for the unfolding situation. Though not everyone sought Deputy Prefect Guan's counsel, a group of over 10 individuals bombarded him with questions, enough to test Deputy Prefect Guan's endurance. Numerous bailiffs, absent from their government office duties, converged on Deputy Prefect Guan. Xiao Yunduan was well aware of this orchestrated response. He couldn't feign ignorance about the mastermind behind this upheaval. Deputy Prefect Guan. Deputy Prefect Guan, caught in a web of embarrassment and anger, had to maintain a facade of innocence before Xiao Yunduan. The fear of Xiao Yunduan's perception gnawed at him, knowing that some observers would find his predicament amusing. His expression turned sinister, as he could only hope for divine intervention to navigate through this precarious game. Other Wizia Constable Ding and Constable Yu joined the gathering as well. Their long-standing amicable relationship with Deputy Prefect Guan was rooted in mutual benefits, although over time, it had developed into a somewhat genuine rapport. Observing their arrival, Deputy Prefect Guan, half jokingly and half seriously, expressed his dissatisfaction. Others may be ignorant, but to jump to conclusions from insignificant evidence, panicking over a minor issue. Why are you also causing trouble? This isn't like you. Constable Ding and Constable Yu felt a twinge of embarrassment and discontent. Without Deputy Prefect Guan's influence, they wouldn't have fallen out with the new prefect. In private discussions, they lamented their involvement and regretted their actions. The conflict seemed more like a power struggle between Deputy Prefect Guan and the new prefect, and they questioned why they were dragged into it. Despite their previous camaraderie with Deputy Prefect Guan, the extent of their relationship did not warrant this level of involvement. Reflecting on the situation, they realized that Lord Qiao was unlike the previous prefects. What if he was genuinely committed to staying for an extended period? Regret sank in as they anticipated strained relations even if they reconciled later. They would likely be under constant scrutiny, needing to tread carefully to avoid any missteps that could be used against them. They concluded that getting involved in the matter initially was a mistake. If they wanted to participate, they should have found a way to avoid directly opposing the Lord of the Prefect. Now it was too late to backtrack, and they were committed to supporting Deputy Prefect Guan, hoping that Lord Qiao would eventually relent. Constable Ding forced a smile and addressed Deputy Prefect Guan. Lord, considering Lord Qiao's assertiveness, we naturally harbor some doubts. Please enlighten us, and let's strategize to develop a countermeasure. With a plan in place, we won't be caught off guard, right? Chapter 1687. Lord Deputy Prefect, you mean that's right? Constable Yu sneered. Lord Qiao is quick. He's already appointed a new constable. Even if this storm blows over, will we still have a place here? Both constables were tinged with anger and jealousy. Deputy Prefect Guan glanced at them and remarked, even with your presence, do you think you're safe? Lord Qiao is promoting those around him. I suspect he already harbors such intentions. Even if you remain unscathed, he might find a reason to push you aside, searching for fault in a straw. Why not make some noise and challenge him? That way, you can carve your own path. Stunned, the constable's heart sank. Indeed. Deputy Prefect Guan observed their reactions coldly, understanding their thoughts. Having a couple more constables is not a significant issue for us. However, some individuals aren't deserving of such positions. Lord Qiao is young, inexperienced as a local official, and ignorant. He can act recklessly. Even if it's for the sake of the common people, we have a responsibility. Don't you agree? The constables seemed to grasp the point, but remained somewhat uncertain. €. Do you mean €? Deputy Prefect Guan chuckled, dismissing their concerns with a wave of his hand. I'm not implying anything else. I just believe that some people aren't fit to be constables. Lord Qiao is young and lacks understanding. Let him witness the reality. Let him see that certain individuals can't withstand scrutiny. Why should they hold such positions? Constable Ding and Constable Yu exchanged glances, comprehending the message. Deputy Prefect Guan added, procrastinating won't serve us well. Lord Qiao, if you grasp this concept early on, the government office can return to normal sooner rather than later. Don't you think? They both nodded in agreement. Constable Ding hesitated briefly. €, Lord, is €? Appropriate? What could go wrong? Deputy Prefect Guan chuckled. Regardless of what unfolds, it won't implicate us, will it? Ding and Yu were enlightened and broke into smiles. Lord is absolutely right, ha ha ha. Yes, whatever unfolds, we're not involved. Leaving the backyard of the state government office, the two constables ventured off to strategize. They decided to target Hang Xingshan first. Hang Xingshan had been promoted by the previous prefect. If the former prefect had remained in An's province for an extended period, Hang Xingshan would have inevitably become a constable. This was common knowledge. Therefore, Constable Ding and Constable Yu harbored a long-standing resentment toward Hang Xingshan. Surprisingly, the new prefect displayed a keen eye and promptly promoted Hang Xingshan. Or perhaps, Hang Xingshan had harbored ill feelings towards them and clandestinely provided information to the lord of the prefect in exchange for these benefits. With this perspective, the constables felt justified in teaching Hang Xingshan a lesson. After all, who gave him the right to scheme against others behind their backs? Was he truly worthy of holding the position of constable? Constable Ding and Constable Yu had long desired to reprimand Hang Xingshan. Despite their previous attempts to create difficulties for him, Hang Xingshan always managed to avoid getting caught in any suspicious activities. Now an opportunity had finally presented itself. However, what the two constables did not anticipate was that, even when attacking him together, they would be unable to overpower Hang Xingshan. Chapter 1688. Mantis stalks the cicada Ding, and you were seething with anger as they scolded Hang Xingshan furiously, threatening him to vacate the government office. Lord Qiao won't linger in An's province for long. You won't be able to rely on him indefinitely. If you know what's good for you, leave now. Otherwise, once Lord Qiao departs, your exit won't be so trouble-free. Hang Xingshan paid no heed to their threats and retorted, if you dare to attack again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Ding and you were further incensed. However, the ordeal did not end there. After Hang Xingshan departed, they found themselves assaulted once more. The attackers concealed their faces, but the intensity in their eyes radiated danger. Their demeanor made it clear they were not to be trifled with. Faced with the assailants' cold gaze and an air of menace, Ding and you felt a chill of fear. Before they could make any inquiries, a barrage of punches and kicks rained down on them. Helpless, they rolled on the ground, screaming in agony, unable to mount any defense. The assailants sneered and departed silently. After a while, Ding and you struggled to their feet. Their faces were unscathed, but their bodies ached in every imaginable way. It felt as though someone had disassembled their bones. Pale-faced, sweating profusely and trembling, they tried to comprehend what had just happened. Who were those two people? I don't know despite claiming ignorance. The duo couldn't dismiss the notion of a sinister connection. They had barely caused trouble for Hang Xingshan, and had yet to exit the alley when they were brutally assaulted. The words left behind by the two attackers were more than just an idle threat. Lord Qiao, were they working on behalf of Lord Qiao? Had Lord Qiao been keeping a watchful eye on them? If Hang Xingshan hadn't confronted them, these two individuals would have intervened. Shock registered in the eyes of Ding and Yu as they exchanged glances. They were now consumed with regret, their internal turmoil verging on turning their intestines green. What kind of individuals did Lord Qiao have in his service? If they had foreseen this outcome, they wouldn't have succumbed to Deputy Prefect Guan's manipulation. Regret surged, but it was too late to undo their actions. Not content with merely threatening Hang Xingshan, they were also incited by Deputy Prefect Guan. Numerous bailiffs followed a young man aspiring to join their ranks, attempting to intimidate him and nullify his registration. Yet the tables turned, and they found themselves either battered or delivered to Xiao Yunduan. 8 individuals were escorted to Xiao Yunduan, where they faced public interrogation. Each of them received a beating 20 times before being expelled from the room. The incident triggered a widespread uproar. Someone had been covertly influencing Xiao Yunduan, spreading detrimental rumors about the new lord of the prefect. They accused him of being haughty, arbitrary, and unreasonable, claiming he instigated conflict upon arrival, resulting in the departure of over half the bailiffs. Allegedly, these bailiffs were driven away because they refused to appease him or provide illicit benefits. However, the truth was far from the rumors. Lord Qiao had given these individuals an opportunity to reform, yet they squandered it. Unwilling to compromise, they resorted to a strike, attempting to leverage "the law doesn't punish the masses" to extract additional benefits from Lord Qiao. Facing their obstinance, Lord Qiao chose not to yield to such a malevolent force. Instead, he opted to part ways with these unscrupulous officers and initiate fresh recruitments. The extent of their moral degradation became evident as they targeted those who had signed up, resorting to threats and violence in an attempt to force them out. The intention was clear. Lord Qiao would beg them to return. The sheer despicability and sinister nature of their actions left a stain on their reputation that could not easily be erased. Chapter 1689. Kindness and might. Xiao Yunduan's voice cut through the air with cold precision. These 20 strokes are for you novices. If there's a next transgression, you'll face 30 strokes and 3 months of imprisonment. Subsequent offenses will warrant 40 strokes and a year behind bars. If you doubt whether I keep my word, feel free to test it. The 8 battered individuals were unceremoniously ejected from the government office, limping away and supporting each other in their hasty retreat. The others were paralyzed with fear, initially hesitant to entertain any thoughts. However, unable to part with the stability of the job and occasional small perks, some gathered in groups of 3 to 5, seeking mercy from Lord Qiao at the state office. Xiao Yinduan kept them waiting for 3 hours. Once they finally met, and after they had kowtowed and pleaded for mercy, he sneered. Regretting it now? What were you thinking earlier? Ashamed and nervous, they lowered their heads, hesitant to utter a word. After a while, Xiao Yinduan spoke calmly. You are all familiar with this place, and not all the spots have been filled yet. There are still 30 openings, first come, first served. Since you acknowledge your wrongdoing, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now. Go back, write a confession letter, sign it and submit it. Yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for your kindness, Lord. Xiao Yinduan sneered again. I'm not finished. When you return, regardless of your current position, you will be reassigned and start from the bottom. No objections are allowed. Additionally, I will cease the board game. It will affect the province, but your salaries will be fined. Each of you will face a 2-month penalty. Are you satisfied? If not, you don't have to come back. This time, many of those incited by Deputy Prefect Guan to cause trouble held minor leadership roles. They had bet on the wrong outcome, ensuring that even if they returned, they could kiss their leadership positions goodbye. Furthermore, a salary penalty awaited them. 2 months was neither lenient nor severe euro. It struck a balance chord. The directive to start from the bottom left all of them dumbfounded. Xiao Yinduan's sneer accompanied his cold words as he lowered his eyes and declared, You underestimated me, thinking that a simple apology and kowtowing would erase the trouble you attempted to stir up. Were it not for your past contributions to the state office, I wouldn't have afforded you this chance. Reflect on it. If, upon careful consideration, you decide to return, do so. If not, pretend this never happened. I won't coerce you. There's only one condition. Be obedient henceforth. Otherwise, I won't be lenient. Yes, Lord Euro. Their hearts quivered as they kowtowed, rose and retreated. Once outside the state office, they exchanged uneasy glances. News of the incident swiftly circulated. Urged by anxiety, one individual spent a few copper coins to enlist the help of cultivated talent Luadi, who wrote a letter of repentance and signed it. Hastily, the individual sought mercy at the government office, expressing a desire to return. With a trailblazer in tow, others grew increasingly anxious. A collective rush ensued towards the state office. Xiao Yinduan issued an order, closing the acceptance of further confessions after reaching the count of 30. Ultimately, only 30 individuals returned to the government office, leaving the remaining 30 to find alternative means of livelihood. In less than 5 days, the entire narrative of the situation underwent a complete reversal. Chapter 1690. Who can take it? Xiao Yinduan seamlessly assumed control of the constables and bailiffs in the court, entrusting Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and Zheng Sang with the responsibility of reassigning and training the new recruits, promising a swift transformation. Meanwhile, the 30 individuals who had left the court harbored regret, but dared not hold animosity toward Xiao Yinduan. The lord of the prefect proved to be formidable and not to be trifled with. There was no justification for resentment, and any lingering hatred within their ranks was confined and ineffectual. After the stern lesson given to the 8 instigators, they were thoroughly frightened into submission. The remaining dissenters lacked the courage to act recklessly. Despite their reluctance to give up, a collective movement emerged as they sought Deputy Prefect Guan for redress. Instigated by his previous encouragement, they now demanded an explanation and compensation. Formerly revered, Deputy Prefect Guan found himself surrounded and targeted by the very individuals he had sought to manipulate against Xiao Yinduan. Frustration and anger overwhelmed Deputy Prefect Guan, who now faced the consequence of his own machinations. The assertiveness of the 30 individuals, each voicing their grievances, tormented him. Mrs. Guan, frightened by the commotion, took refuge in the bedroom, venting her anger through gritted teeth. The turmoil caused by these disgruntled individuals was enough to drive anyone to the brink. Deputy Prefect Guan found himself in a sorry state, unable to deny his role in instigating the situation. The disgruntled individuals, fueled by anger, sought him out for retribution. However, when it came to compensating them, Deputy Prefect Guan was resistant. He deemed these commoners foolish for mishandling a straightforward task and implicating him. The idea of compensating them seemed ludicrous to him, and he was unwilling to part with his accumulated wealth to appease their grievances. Expressing his frustration, Deputy Prefect Guan sternly reprimanded the group, asserting that Lord Qiao's recruitment efforts were merely a facade. He urged them to maintain composure, assuring them that he could influence Lord Qiao on their behalf. Despite initial skepticism, Deputy Prefect Guan, wielding his authority, used a combination of persuasion and coercion to convince the majority to leave. Their reluctance to abandon the stable jobs and a lingering hope that Deputy Prefect Guan's assurances might hold true contributed to their hesitant departure. However, a handful of individuals at the back harbored resentment and launched an attack on Deputy Prefect Guan. Unconvinced by his promises and aware of his deceit, they were not swayed by his attempts to manipulate the situation. Chapter 1691. His heart hurts. Deputy Prefect Guan probably didn't have such a big face in front of Lord Qiao. Who was he trying to fool? These few people were usually crafty and cunning. Deputy Prefect Guan also understood that it was impossible for him to not give up something at all after this matter had become like this. After a round of competition, Deputy Prefect Guan agreed to give these 6 people 10 taels each. However, they had to help him stop the others. No matter what method they used, they had to stop the others from looking for him. The 6 of them felt that 10 taels of silver per person was too little, so they refused. The 2 sides haggled and finally settled on 20 taels each. Deputy Prefect Guan originally wanted to give half, and the other half after this matter was completely over. However, the 6 of them refused. Deputy Prefect Guan could not dissuade someone who had nothing on shoulders, so he could only grit his teeth and give the money. A total of 120 taels. His heart ached so much that it trembled. One had to know that his monthly salary was only 30 taels of silver. He still had 1 or 2 small shops in the city. He could earn about 20 taels a month. This was his normal monthly income. Every year, there would be some benefits from time to time. He could also take some from the public accounts. However, no matter what, 120 taels was definitely a huge sum to him. Mrs. Guan's heart ached when she found out. A few days ago, she had taken a fancy to 2 new brocades from Jiangnan. One cost 36 taels of silver. She hesitated for a while but could not bear to buy it. But who knew that in the blink of an eye, 120 taels of silver would be wasted? Then I might as well buy myself brocade. These people really dare to speak. Mrs. Guan scolded the officers, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, apparently blaming them for the situation. The 6 individuals proved ineffective in stopping the others. Someone inadvertently revealed that they had each received 20 taels of silver as compensation from Deputy Prefect Guan. The revelation sparked envy among those who hadn't received compensation, fueling resentment towards Deputy Prefect Guan. Green with envy, they rushed to the backyard of the provincial government office, demanding compensation from Deputy Prefect Guan. They insisted on receiving at least 20 taels of silver. When the butler reported that these individuals had returned, Deputy Prefect Guan sensed trouble. However, he couldn't turn them away, fearing that they might expose him if they refused to leave. If even a fig leaf was torn off, he would be too ashamed to face Lord Qiao in the future. Pinching his nose, Deputy Prefect Guan reluctantly allowed them in. He scolded those who didn't act after receiving money, but had to endure as they demanded their share. The temptation of 20 taels of silver had turned them relentless, creating a tsunami of demands that almost drowned Deputy Prefect Guan. Regardless of what Deputy Prefect Guan said, nobody believed him this time. They refused to listen and clamored for the demanded 20 taels of silver, not a single tael less. Chapter 1692. Heavy losses. Deputy Prefect Guan stood firm, refusing to yield, which only fueled the crowd's excitement. In the chaos, a porcelain bottle on a chest of drawers fell to the ground and shattered. Taking advantage of the moment, Deputy Prefect Guan intensified the situation, insisting that the broken porcelain bottle was worth 1,000 taels of silver and demanded compensation. This further angered the crowd, and chaos ensued. An unknown person initiated the fighting, and soon the entire living room turned into a battleground. Deputy Prefect Guan and the butler became victims of the violence, bearing the brunt of the attacks. Their cries for help went unanswered as the servants rushed in, causing the attackers to disperse and flee. The house was left in disarray, with overturned furniture and shattered artifacts strewn across the floor. Even Deputy Prefect Guan's jade pendant had been snatched away. Hiding in the back, Mrs. Guan had heard the commotion but was too scared to intervene. When the attackers finally dispersed, she rushed out and was shocked at the scene before her. Seeing her bruised and battered husband, she exclaimed, "Oh my God! What sins have we committed?" Hurrying to assist her husband, Mrs. Guan expressed her concern, while Nanny Ding and Jinju helped Deputy Prefect Guan onto a chair. The sight of the damaged living room added to Mrs. Guan's distress. She exclaimed, "Ayo, how did it end up like this? Ridiculous, this is outrageous." Despite not being genuine antiques, the items in the living room held value, making the damage significant and heartbreaking. The pair of Beauty's hairpins and plum bottles alone were valued at more than 100 taels of silver. Additionally, there was a jade mountain figure, hairpins, and a white jade with an elephant chime, with respective values of 80 taels and 110 taels. While the rest of the items were not as exquisite, they still held value, each worth dozens of taels. In total, the losses amounted to quite a substantial sum. Regarding the furniture, all of it had been forcefully kicked to the ground, resulting in numerous bumps and bruises. Some damages were subtle and could potentially be repaired by a skilled artisan, but others were irreparable and necessitated replacement. The overall loss easily reached 2,000 taels of silver, leaving Mrs. Guan on the verge of tears. Deputy Prefect Guan, groaning from the pain, soon realized the severity of his injuries. His left arm, when moved, caused intense pain, indicating a probable fracture. Urgently, he called for a doctor to attend to his injuries. As Deputy Prefect Guan assessed the room, he was horrified to see that half of a calligraphy painting hanging on the wall had been torn apart, with only the other half still swaying. He exclaimed, "Ah, my painting! My painting!" This artwork, crafted by a renowned artist from the previous dynasty, had been a prized possession. Deputy Prefect Guan had acquired it as a symbol of prestige, surpassing the combined value of everything else in the room. Devastated by the irreparable damage to the cherished painting, Deputy Prefect Guan was overwhelmed with despair and fainted before he could catch his breath. Mrs. Guan, panicked and distraught, continuously called out to her husband, "Old master!" The doctor arrived just in time, and Deputy Prefect Guan slowly regained consciousness. Chapter 1693. Deputy Prefect Guan's bitterness. Mrs. Guan patted her chest, letting out a relieved sigh. "That scared me to death. Old master, don't be sad. I'll settle the score with those troublemakers later. Humph, none of them can escape," Mrs. Guan said with resentment. Determined, she decided that even if those individuals had to face bankruptcy and sell themselves as slaves, she would make sure they compensated for their losses. Otherwise, they would all end up in jail. Deputy Prefect Guan felt extremely frustrated. "Shut up and let me have some peace." His wife was unaware of the true value of the painting. If she knew, it might drive her to anger-induced demise. In the current situation, he dared not say anything. The idea of finding those responsible for compensation seemed plausible, but who could he hold accountable? The chaos of the moment made it unlikely for anyone to admit guilt willingly. Furthermore, if he pushed them into a corner and they fought back fiercely, he would be the one facing unfortunate consequences. He was no longer solely in charge of the prefect's office, and throwing her in jail was out of the question. Lord Qiao would never agree to it. Deputy Prefect Guan knew without asking that the bailiffs wouldn't follow his orders. Bitterness consumed him as he contemplated the situation. If only he had known the extent of those troublemakers' lawlessness, he would have paid them off. 20 taels per person, totaling 60 people, amounted to only 1,000 taels. Reflecting on it, he realized he had lost several thousand taels. His anger was overwhelming, and his heart ached at the loss. No, if he had given the 6 troublemakers 20 taels of silver from the start, 10 taels per person would likely have resolved the issue peacefully. The more Deputy Prefect Guan thought about it, the more his heart ached. and anger threatened to make him vomit blood. The doctor finally arrived, confirming Deputy Prefect Guan's suspicion of a fractured left arm accompanied by bruises. Sensing slight pain in his chest and abdomen, he opted to address all issues at once. The consultation and medicine incurred a few tales of Silvera Euro observing her husband's sorry state. Mrs. Guan instructed someone to procure and prepare the medicine. Rising angrily, she declared, "I'm going to find Madame Qiao. Lord Qiao must intervene. If he refuses, I won't leave so easily." "Stop right there." Deputy Prefect Guan sternly halted her, his frown deepening. "Come back. You're not allowed to go. Old Mr. Euro, isn't it embarrassing enough? If Xiao Yunduan seizes this opportunity to investigate, think about it for yourself." A euro. Mrs. Guan was instantly rendered speechless. Could it be a euro settled just like that? "Old master, there's so much silver. We incurred substantial losses this time." Deputy Prefect Guan trembled, experiencing the pain once again. Not only physical pain but also aching in his heart. The famous calligraphy and painting from the previous dynasty had cost him 4,600 taels of silver. What else? Deputy Prefect Guan glared at Mrs. Guan, sneering. "There's still a long way to go. Just wait and see. As long as she's still here, she'll recoup what she lost. This matter ends here. Don't mention it again." Taking a deep breath, he spoke in a low voice. "I want to rest well now and strive to recover as soon as possible to resume my duties in the government office. It's in your best interest to refrain from provoking me further." Mrs. Guan was left speechless. Feeling aggrieved, she mumbled, "This is so a euro." It was infuriating. After all the trouble, he ended up suffering a double loss. Deputy Prefect Guan had closed his eyes, signaling his exhaustion. He didn't want to talk anymore. Any further discussion would only fuel his anger. Unsatisfied, Mrs. Guan decided to visit Qiao Xian's place.